homegrown Illinois corn. Driving a $148 billion economic impact, corn supports thousands of jobs and strengthens communities across our state. It's advancing cleaner burning biofuels, expanding plant-based manufacturing, and growing a renewable economy. Illinois corn isn't just an agricultural success, it's a strategic investment in energy, innovation, and economic growth. See what's possible at ilcorn.org.
Memorial Day is more than a long weekend. It's a time to honor the men and women who gave everything for this country. And what better way to show your patriotism than with a handcrafted American flag built to last for generations? At uniquewoodenflags.com, every flag is handcrafted from quality wood with a beautiful rustic finish that turns any room, office, garage, or backyard into a tribute to America. Choose from classic American flags, military branch flags, thin blue line designs, Don't Tread on Me flags, our very popular Trump collection, and more. These aren't cheap plastic flags from a big box store. These are handcrafted pieces of American pride. Honor our heroes this Memorial Day and give a gift that actually means something. Visit uniquewoodenflags.com. That's uniquewoodenflags.com.
Mike Lindell and the MyPillow employees want to thank you for your great support this past year. They want to make 2026 the best year ever. So to thank you, they are giving you free shipping on your entire order and wholesale pricing. So they are bringing back the mega sale. For example, the classic MyPillows, regularly $49.98, now only $14.98. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the Made in the USA MyPillow My Mattress Topper and save up to $100. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $34.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. These offers won't last long, so call 800-489-0201 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free.
I remember sitting in the kitchen, heartbroken, overwhelmed, staring at costs and a list of decisions. I prayed for strength and reached out to Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, only to hear that Mom had already pre-planned everything so my siblings and I would be protected. Because she planned ahead, we weren't pulled apart by heartbreaking decisions.
Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5407 to schedule a free consultation.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Crosscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Hey, if you're living with joint pain, listen up. I want you to try something different. You don't have to live in pain every day. Have a conversation with my friends at QC Kinetics and tell them I sent you when you do. They offer all-natural regenerative treatments for joint pain. I've seen the results and personally recommend Dr. Caravelli and her team. Stop saying to yourself, this is just how I am now. That's not okay. Get back to the normal you, the one who is active and carefree. QC Kinetics is helping AM560 listeners with pain from arthritis or injury in their knees, hips, and shoulders. Now they're moving again, golfing and running without surgery or long recovery. The science is real. The treatments are natural. Your body knows how to heal. QC Kinetics will show you how without surgery. Don't watch summer pass you by again, stuck on your couch, afraid to move. Take action today. Schedule an appointment right now. Consultations are free. Call 312-827-6261. That number again, 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
Making the switch to a new communications and IT company may seem like a big ordeal, but if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs, meet Access One. your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore, Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. We'll make the switch easier than you think. Let's talk. Call 800-804-8333 or visit accessoneInc.com. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. That's accessoneInc.com. Tech made personal locally.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. Justice Clarence Thomas recently became the second longest-serving justice in U.S. history, and that's something to celebrate. He is exceptional, both as a jurist and as a man. Raised in poverty in a wooden shack in the segregated South, he credits his grandfather for shaping his character. From that foundation, he's articulated a powerful and increasingly influential originalist vision of the Constitution, grounded in the natural law principles of our Declaration of Independence. His character is remarkable. Justice Thomas is beloved by those who know him. He is renowned for his kindness, treating his clerks like family, knowing the names of court staff, and helping others with no expectation of return. Justice Thomas is quite simply a national treasure. He is a blessing to America, and it's right that we celebrate this outstanding jurist and extraordinary man.
Temperatures are rising, and so are concerns about inflation, market volatility, and taxes. Revisit your financial plan this summer. Vestgen Wealth Partners work with individuals to develop personalized plans that help navigate changing conditions with confidence. Visit GetRetiredStayRetired.com to learn more.
Advisory services offered through Vestgen Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Private Client Services and Vestgen Advisors, LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. Vestgen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
In his new movie, The Dragon's Prophecy, Dinesh D'Souza brings the new Middle East into focus with a message of perseverance, faith, and a shared global destiny.
Could the fate of the world, of humanity itself, be somehow tied to this place?
At long last, we have peace in the Middle East.
Israel and Christians are coming together in a way they have never been before, since the book of Acts.
But is this the end of Hamas and radical Islam? What does the Bible say?
We have to become fighters in the spirit for God. We don't accept what the enemy wants to do with our culture. We don't accept what he wants to do with the nation. If we keep fighting, we win.
Powerful, prophetic, a must-see movie based on Jonathan Cahn's international bestseller. The Dragon's Prophecy combines history and scripture with faith, justice, and renewal. The Dragon's Prophecy, a new film by Dinesh D'Souza. Now available on Amazon, YouTube, and iTunes. Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be mostly cloudy and breezy with a high of 67. Tonight, expect cloudy skies with a passing shower or two and a low of 55. Tomorrow, there will be a passing morning shower. Otherwise, it will be mostly cloudy with a high of 66. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. And so the situation on the Hill is deteriorating as senators adjourn for a week of rest, all their hard work, without moving forward the legislation to fund ICE and DHS in full for the next fiscal year. And of course, the latest source of tension between the president
and Senate Republicans, a handful of them, the same handful, you can be sure, is over the topic we ended the program talking about on Wednesday. Pick right back up. You could see this coming a long way away. God forbid a handful of these senators have to fight for anything. Tom Tillis and others balking at President Trump's $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund that was set up as part of the settlement on Trump's $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS for illegally, for an IRS contractor illegally releasing Trump's tax returns. $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund, which, as we talked about on Wednesday, it is not limited to J6, but it's certainly likely to include some who were prosecuted for alleged crimes related to their conduct on January 6th. But it could include, as you heard from Acting AG Todd Blanche, it could include Democrats. Hunter Biden, it can make an application if he can make out a colorable claim. But to give you a sense of the tone the White House is receiving from a handful of senators, the usual suspects, like Tom Tillis.
It's stupid on stilts.
Why?
Because it will invariably put us in a position where your taxpayer dollars and my taxpayer dollars could potentially compensate someone who assaulted a police officer, admitted their guilt, got convicted, got pardoned, and now we're going to pay them for that? That's absurd. The American people are going to reject this out of hand. When you take money from me to give to a purpose that I vehemently disagree with, that's tyranny, and that's what that accounted.
Really? What a statement that is. When you take money from me and give it to a purpose that I vehemently oppose, that's tyranny? Isn't that what you and your colleagues on the Hill do every single day, Tom? That's what government does. Takes money from people under the color of the Republican form of government and devotes it to causes with which people always disagree. That's just the nature of it, isn't it, Tom? So that's a silly statement that he made, but that's sort of Tom Tillis's calling card, at least in his latter years in the Senate. I won't be sorry to see him go. 312-642-5600, alphawealthgroup.com, answer line and text line. The other piece of it, though, the more important piece than Tom Tillis's lack of sort of basic civic understanding of what government is and what it does. The idea that, somebody who assaulted a police officer on J6th, admitted his guilt, sentenced for his crime, could then petition this anti-weaponization compensation fund for redress. Yeah, that could happen. Could potentially be awarded money. Right, that could happen. Could also be potentially rejected. Isn't that what commissions or adjudicative bodies like a fund, like a court of law, do every single day? Isn't that what they're set up to do? Make judgment calls based on the evidence? So because there's the possibility that the anti-weaponization fund would make a bad decision, we can't let them make a good decision. How does that make any sense? It doesn't. Stephen Miller offering a rejoinder.
We lived through 4 years of, more than 4 years actually, but I'll just say 4 years in this case, of unimaginable weaponization of the federal government against innocent people. We've had so many lives. It really goes back, so I would say further, but so many lives destroyed, so many livelihoods ruined, so many people who were deprived of their fundamental rights and freedoms as American citizens. And this settlement is just a small measure of the justice that they are owed. And thank you all for your time.
Something interesting as well, Sean Davis over the Federalist pointing out, Tom Tillis voted for a $500,000 per senator fund for senators who were illegally spied on by the Biden administration. It wasn't available to any normal Americans whose rights had been violated, but just senators. And now Tillis is mad that actual American citizens might receive restitution. What a clown, is Sean Davis's closing bon mot. Indeed. But that's typical of, a pandering simp like Tom Tillis, who, like others, I think, has let his antipathy towards Trump color his good judgment. But whatever is the basis, it's bad judgment and bad logic and bad policy. But other than that, Chris on the Dan Ryan.
Yeah, it's amazing. The politicians are not for us, Dan. You know that. We live in a state that obviously you're well aware of that is passing laws such as the Safety Act and other laws like that, like the I think it's called the Illinois Build Act, where they can basically build anything they want in any town. I think that's what Pritzker wants to do here in Illinois. I just heard about that. And, if you really want to get into the nuts and crackers of everything, you should watch the Mantino forum of politicians there. That's what you call the root of all evil there, because that is the smallest part of politics and yet the biggest part of corruption. That's really my comment. Have a good Friday.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. Roger DeKalb.
Hey, yeah. So these men of principle and character, the original men and women of the Mitch McConnell 10, whatever they were, Thune, Cassidy, they're anything but. And these guys got to be just despised for a long time. These people have been working against conservatives, Americans, regular people, my whole life, it seems like. I mean, every time it came down to a real issue, they couldn't do it. And the fact that Thune goes out, looks down at his WWMD bracelet and says, well, not much we're going to get done now. It's like, how petty are these people? They have no principle, no character. They're not real. They're not the real true conservatives. They always want us to believe they are, because they're just petty little men who can't take an insult or getting beat. So that's my opinion.
Thanks for the call, Roger. And they're going to suffer another one next week when John Cornyn goes down. So they're, I'm sure, preparing for that. There is something to that. I mean, not just the pettiness of it, elevating your dislike of the president of your own party over positions and policies you would otherwise support. It's reprehensible. But the other thing is that just the unwillingness to be inconvenienced to do the right thing. Thune's response to this contretemps between a handful of senators and Trump, and allowing them to, flitter off to a week's vacation, well earned, so that so that the actual working men and women on the front lines of providing for our public safety and the nation's security, like ICE officers and CBP officers and DHS personnel, they're shunted aside. We'll get to you when we get to you. We have our personal grievances to prosecute before we worry about yours or the country's. But what Thune said was, the weaponization, the anti-weaponization fund is making things more difficult than they need to be. Oh, heavens. Are things getting difficult? Whatever is the path of least resistance. You think doing anything substantive in D.C. in favor of Johnny Punchclock and Sally Housecoat is going to come without consequence? What a child John Thune is. Oh, it's being difficult. What a crybaby. Crybaby bitch. But as I said before, in terms of talking about the SAVE Act or pretty much anything else, how weak is the Senate Republican caucus? Well, John Thune is its leader. So it tells you something about the caucus and thus the continuing problems. All right, coming up at 5:38, a summer of teen takeovers. Our nation's big cities prepare. Very different philosophies on how to approach those between, say, Beal and Brandon and maybe like Polk County, Florida Sheriff Grady Judd. We'll compare and contrast 538. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
53 degrees this morning on AM 560 in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Considerable cloudiness and breezy today, a high near 68. Areas to the south and east, you may get brushed by a rain shower. The Justice Department is announcing more than a dozen new indictments in its fraud crackdown in Minnesota.
Today, we are announcing criminal charges against 15 defendants in Minnesota for fraud schemes that targeted over $90 million in taxpayer dollars.
Assistant AG Colin McDonald went on to say this was only the beginning of the DOJ's work in the state of Minnesota. The crackdown came on the same day that Amy Bach, the woman prosecutors have called the mastermind behind a massive fraud scheme to steal hundreds of millions of dollars in government aid, was sentenced to nearly 42 years in prison. Former Detroit Mayor Mike Dugan has ended his independent bid for governor of Michigan.
Is there a path to win? And the truth of the matter is, when you're down 11 points and you're down in the fundraising, the path is not realistic.
Michigan Republican Party Chair Jim Runestad criticized Dugan, saying his exit wasn't a surprise as voters saw through a lifelong Democrat masquerading as an independent. The EPA directing nearly $300 million in funding to protect Illinois from exposure to lead in drinking water. The investment goes right to the state's Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. It's part of the EPA's commitment to states to get rid of lead drinking water lines. Illinois received about 10% of the federal allocation, the largest among the 50 states. In a stunning move, federal prosecutors dropped misdemeanor charges against 4 remaining members of the so-called Broadview Six.
It should shame every single American that we have a Department of Justice that hides behind the grand jury in selling these indictments. It's terrible conduct for anybody, much less a federal prosecutor.
Attorney Chris Parente, 6 were charged for their actions during a protest outside of an Immigrations and Customs Enforcement facility last September. Meantime, a Chicago man has been indicted on charges accusing him of ramming a vehicle into a federal police agent's vehicle last year. Diego Reyes is charged with assaulting and impeding, along with intimidating, an officer. Prosecutors showed evidence that on October 4th of last year, Reyes rammed his SUV into the rear of a vehicle driven by a federal policeman. Bears are reaffirming plans that they're leaving Chicago. Team releasing a statement saying they've exhausted every opportunity to stay in the city, but there is not a viable site. The Bears say the only sites under consideration are Arlington Heights and Hammond, Indiana, and Indiana stands ready. They've already committed $1 billion against the team's $2 billion, and they're ready to fund massive infrastructure improvements to build a dome stadium near Hammond to entice the Bears across state lines. Top Indiana Republicans are switching their endorsement from incumbent Indiana Secretary of State Diego Morales to a new candidate. Morales' term as Secretary of State has faced a number of challenges, including questions about millions in no-bid contracts and using state resources for campaign videos. The News is a service of Mattress Firm, ready to upgrade to the perfect sleep setup. Let Mattress Firm sleep experts guide you to the perfect bed at the Memorial Day sale. Score unbeatable deals. Mattress Firm, they make sleep easy. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but in 2 minutes, a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Scott Jennings says we need to recognize the problem.
What is going on here? This judge apologizing to someone who's trying to kill the president? Democrats programming violent left-wing radicals, blaming things like climate change instead of the people that they have radicalized? We have a left-wing violence problem in this country. Everyone knows it. Failure to acknowledge it is only going to make it worse.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
The law group you know and trust, Nman Associates, is expanding into commercial litigation. When disputes can't be resolved, get the strategic guidance from a litigation lawyer who will fight for your rights. Attorney Richard Cannon brings both strong courtroom and dispute settlement skills. We believe most cases can be resolved without costly courtroom battles, but we prepare as if a trial is possible. When your company needs to stand its ground, contact Nman & Associates in Elk Grove Village. For a consultation, visit nalawgroup.com.
Have you been watching gold and silver lately? Hard to ignore. Back in January of 2025, silver was under $30 an ounce, and now it's more than doubled. Again, not bad, right? Some experts say this bull market is just getting started. Others say it's a good time to take some money off the table. Either way, whether you're buying or selling, Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is the place to go. They stock large quantities of all the major bullion coins and bars. And here's what sets them apart. Unlike places that only pay melt value, Fox Valley Coins pays more for high-grade coins and scarcer dates. That's real money left in your pocket. They also buy scrap sterling flatware, jewelry, silver-plated items, and old proof sets. And they specialize in U.S. and foreign collector and investment coins and currency, both buying and selling. Fox Valley Coins, one light north of I-88 on Route 59 at Ferry Road in Naperville. Family-owned with integrity since 1981.
Picture warm Gulf breezes, turquoise waters, white sand beaches. Now, add evenings of conversation with Salem Media's Mike Gallagher, Scott Jennings, Larry O'Connor, and Jennifer Horn. This November, sail from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Mexico on a 7-day journey built for those who love this country. Book your cabin today when you text the word cruise to 94878. Celebrate America's 250th anniversary the right way on the Gulf of America Cruise. Book your cabin now. Text the word cruise to 94878.
Hey AM 560 listeners, Jeff checking in again from jeffbuysyourhouse.com. What I learned serving our great nation in the military is that every mission is unique and success starts with listening. For nearly 20 years, our veteran-led house buying team has taken the time to understand what matters most to each homeowner we serve. Every home has a story and every seller has different needs. Whether you want a quick closing or need extra time to find your next place, we customize our approach around what works best for you. That's how we've earned hundreds of 5-star Google reviews and an A+ rating with the BBB, by putting relationships first. No repairs needed, no cleanout required, and you pick the closing date that works best for your schedule. At jeffbuysyourhouse.com, we're here to help you through the entire transition, not just the transaction. Are you ready to work with a local team that takes the time to understand your home selling needs? Sell your house to the trusted source by calling us today at 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or jeffbuysyourhouse.com.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and newnordicusa.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect mostly cloudy skies with a brisk breeze reaching a high of 67. Tonight will be cloudy with a chance of a passing shower or two and temperatures dropping to a low of 55. Tomorrow, anticipate a passing morning shower followed by thick cloud cover throughout the day with temperatures peaking at 66. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Prof here. So, the DNC, that is the National Committee for the Neo-Marxist Party, hasn't been renamed yet. It should be. They released a autopsy on the 2024 election. Very timely. What year is it? This was a report that was prepared by a party strategist named Paul Rivera. And it concludes a couple of things. One, that the Harris-Walz campaign didn't attack Donald Trump enough. That was the problem. There are also complaints that Harris didn't bother campaigning aggressively enough in rural areas. Long passages about insufficient and inefficient campaign spending. Well, there's some truth to that, yeah. One of the things that was included in the autopsy, quote, Democrats operate in an ecosystem defined by reason, even in cycles when the electorate is defined by rage. The problem the Democrats have, Kamala Harris specifically in 24, too reasonable. Too dispassionate and logical in an era of rage. I tell you, it's been interesting to see some of the reaction from this release of this document from red diaper babies like David Axelrod, the dyed-in-the-wool operative class, and their elected officials that are treating this with almost as much disdain as I am, which tells you something. Axelrod on CNN, who somehow managed to get a summary copy of this. What a get.
They skipped the largest factor surrounding the 24 election, which was that was in a very difficult position because Joe Biden put her there by hanging in as long as he did instead of handing he said that he would and allowing for a Democratic primary. The country wanted to fire the administration. They were angry about inflation, about the border. Trump seized on those issues, and she was the number 2 person in that administration. So even if she were a flawless candidate, which she wasn't, and even if they ran a flawless campaign, I'm not sure the outcome would have been different. They make a couple of points in that report, the whole report. I've read summaries of the report. But the Democratic Party can't survive as a party of blue metropolitan islands on an ocean of red.
Well, why are they blue metropolitan islands on an ocean of red? It's just because everybody who doesn't live in a metropolitan area is a rageaholic? Is that why? We didn't get any further explanation from the great David Axelrod. Jared Moskowitz is a Dem congresswoman from Florida. For now, that map is going to probably send Jared Moskowitz to the private sector. Bye. But at least he was a little bit more honest about the quality of this report in terms of providing any roadmap going forward.
Well, I haven't seen it since it just came out, but obviously, like, an autopsy is a medical procedure you do over a corpse. And now it sounds like we need a malpractice attorney because we couldn't even do the autopsy correctly. So, look, we know how we got here, right? Obviously, it was the Joe Biden issue at the debate. It was the switch over to Kamala without a process. And at the end of the day, Democrats weren't talking enough about affordability in the economy. And that's what we need to be doing. And we've been doing that ever since the election. And so, look, we lost the last election. It wasn't close. Okay, but the fact that we can't even tell people why, we're too afraid to tell them the truth. They know the truth. They saw the debate. They saw what happened, right? And they saw that we got killed in the election. We lost every swing state. So they can write whatever document they want, but Democrats know why we lost.
Some do. Some don't appear to, at least in terms of the public posture they're taking. And the public posture is what the electorate consumes, not what you really think behind closed doors that you're going to keep a secret. But the secret that Jared Moskowitz is pointing to is that they can't get out from underneath the identity politics that is crippling them, because it cripples them on a range of issues, including public safety. And that is in part the appeal that Trump's position and record on border security had for those swing state independents that Axelrod was referencing. Remember all the variations of MAGA? MAHA, obviously, Make America Healthy Again. But central to the campaign and to this presidency is MASA, Make America Safe Again. And you see it playing out in, big city mayor's races like the one in L.A. right now, don't you? I mean, this is Spencer Pratt's formulation on who his people are and why people are voting for him.
Public safety is a main factor in my whole success as mayor. After 8 years of mayor, I will have made LA the safest city in the United States of America. That's my goal. And with that, there's so much opportunity. Hollywood will come back. Restaurants will stay open. Small businesses will have a chance. Hotels will come back. Tourism, everything predicates off of safety. If you don't have a safe, functioning city, nobody can live in it. And that's what's happening right now. That's why I'm resonating. That's why I'll probably win on June 2nd. Like, I don't think this goes to November. People are that fed up. It's not political parties. Democrats are all my supporters. All the lunches I go to, all my fundraiser events, it's all Democrats. So they keep trying to put me in these other boxes or political. I don't represent anybody but Los Angeles citizens that are fed up, that want their tax money to actually make them feel safe, not go through potholes, have the street lights work, have sidewalks that actually exist, not covered in human poop and urine and fentanyl needles with naked zombies in front, naked drug addicts.
Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, the suburban and exurban and rural communities have already spoken on this issue. And they're repeatedly speaking in the same tones. Those blue islands of metropolitan elites that David Axelrod was talking about, they're the last ones to speak sensibly on the issue. And to the extent that Spencer Pratt is even a competitive candidate in LA, which he is, indicates that they're moving in the direction of the Red Sea out there and away from the Blue Islands, if you want to continue Axelrod's metaphor, which is why this summer will be interesting to watch. Because, of course, in big blue cities, or those blue islands that Axelrod referred to, you have a doubling down of non-prosecution, essentially anti-police approaches to lawlessness on the streets. We've already started to see it in Chicago and other big cities with respect to teen takeovers, so-called. And they're being addressed. In D.C., Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. attorney there, is talking about holding parents accountable under the law for what their minor children do, in addition to holding their minor children accountable. But that's very different than what D.C. Councilwoman Janice George, who is likely to be the next mayor, is saying.
As an executive, you have to decide which tools you use and when you use them. And right now, using the curfew as a tool for our young people is dangerous. It is dangerous because we have federal troops who are in our city, mass ICE agents who are in our city.
Right. We didn't attack Trump enough. And we're not attacking ICE and CBP and police enough. That's what we need to do. We need to rally the defense of our silly kids. The way that BLM Brandon is. You can always count on BLM Brandon to be rallying to contextualize kids and their silliness.
Let me be absolutely clear. Remember when we had multiple arrests at a gathering, and then another gathering happened the following week? If we believe that we can arrest our way towards safety, we're wrong. We ask police officers to do too much.
Can't arrest our way to safety. Can't imprison our way to safety. Well, not metaphysical safety, but we can certainly make a dent. Can't we? Since we know that it's a small fraction of the populace that commits an inordinate amount of the violent crime in particular. So it seems to me removing habitual offenders from the streets doesn't get us all the way home, but it's a pretty good start. In addition to that, help me follow the logic, because I know this is a very logical party. It's too logical. That's why they lost in 24. I read it in the Requiem. So we had a bunch of teens commit crimes, and we arrested them for the crimes they committed. And then later on, it happened again. So that means it doesn't work. Well, I think if there's a consistency of approach, it will certainly have an impact. This is very much of the, if it doesn't address the problem 100%, then we shouldn't try to move the flag in the direction 50%. Right? If we can't get every kid reading and doing math at grade level in CPS, then we shouldn't try at all. Or we certainly shouldn't change what we're doing until it's proven that what we're doing can't get us to 100% effectiveness. We arrested people for doing something wrong, and then a similar group of people did the same thing wrong again. So that means stop arresting people. Do I have that logic right? 312-642-5600 is the alphawealthgroup.com call and text line. And, of course, the problem with policing, just in general, this is the philosophy that's on display here, is that you have people in mayor's offices, city council, that see policing as always and everywhere evidence of systemic racism. And so, for example, in Cambridge, Massachusetts, a week after a guy is roaming the streets with a sport rifle shooting at random in Boston, week after that, Cambridge village officials, in their infinite wisdom, voted to do what BLM Brandon did, get rid of ShotSpotter cameras. You know why? Because they're racist. They make it less safe for marginalized populations. Here was some of the deep thinking from your Cambridge leftists addressing the council before they voted 5-2 to dump the cameras.
I do not consent for my vulnerable neighbors in our welcome community sanctuary city to be at risk.
And to make sure we hear from neighbors more directly impacted than I am, I will also be sharing a recorded note from a Putnam Gardens resident. He's unable to be here, but feels that ShotSpotter surveillance puts him and his family at risk.
En la última audiencia, los residentes hablaron abrumadoramente en contra de ShotSpotter. ¿Saben por qué? Porque las familias
for English?
This puts black and brown communities in Cambridge in very real danger.
That BIPOC members of the Cambridge community are more likely to be recorded by ShotSpotter and thus are more vulnerable to potential abuses of the data and recordings collected by the company, as well as dangerous over-policing. Surveillance does not equal safety. We do not need microphones on top of buildings listening to every loud noise in the vicinity and sending in police in order to be safe.
He couldn't be here, so I like to play this recorded message. Well, there's this in Chicago. I mean, just back in the real world for a minute, if you don't mind. 13-year-old boy fighting for his life after he was found shot between two homes in South Chicago on Thursday afternoon. Initial indications are the shooting occurred about 15 minutes before he was found, but there were no calls of shots fired in the area. Officers responded to two calls from people who discovered the boy, according to dispatch audio. The callers began CPR on the child before paramedics arrived, and then he was taken to Comer Children's Hospital in critical condition with a gunshot wound to the head. CPD's official media statement said the shooting occurred at 2:50 p.m. That's 17 minutes before the 911 calls came in. That's number 83. Number 83. CWB Chicago's running series on this. The 83rd person found outside a location previously served by ShotSpotter with either no accompanying 911 calls about gunfire or calls about gunfire in a general area that do not lead to the timely location of the victim. Number 83 since ShotSpotter was eliminated because it's racist. So hopefully that 13-year-old boy makes it. And if he doesn't, does anybody want to have the conversation about would he have if ShotSpotter was there and paramedics could have arrived 10 or 15 minutes earlier than they did? Do you want to go case by case on that? About marginalized populations and black and brown bodies and all the stilted identitarian rhetoric of those goofs in Cambridge and all the goofs here, too. Boy, I tell you, this is a plentiful topic when it comes to the blue islands that are metropolitan America. And wokeness, which is a good handle or good account on X. Things that have gotten canceled by racism. They didn't even include ShotSpotter in Chicago. It should be number one. CCTV cameras in Seattle, same reason. Mugshots in San Francisco, eliminated racism. Gunshot detections in more than 15 cities. Standardized tests. This was in University of California Collegiate System. Of course, we've talked about this. The gifted and talented programs in New York City schools, racism. License plate readers, more than 30 cities. So I'm not a proponent of the surveillance state, and you always have to ask the question, who watches over the watchers? But eliminating tools for law enforcement that law enforcement says they want, and that are certainly within the bounds of constitutional propriety, that will save lives, particularly when cops have to do, I agree with Brandon Johnson on one score, cops have to do more. They're asked to do more than they should do because they don't get support from the political civilian authorities or the other side of the criminal justice system too often, both prosecutors and judges. So, meanwhile, we should try to provide as much assistance through technology and other means to police that we can, since they're really the only institution that's holding up its end, generally speaking. By the way, there is an alternative approach.
As an executive, you have to decide which tools you use.
Alternative approach to the Brandon Johnson approach, than the approach that you see in so many of these blue islands that are our metropolitan areas. And that's the one offered by Grady Judd. Grady Judd, always good for a soundbite. You heard Brandon Johnson's approach to teen takeovers this summer. Grady Judd's in Polk County, Florida, is a little bit different.
Okay, so there's a new TikTok trend. Takeovers, going into restaurants, trashing places, meeting up, driving crazy. Listen, that's not going to work in Polk County. There's a whole lot of laws that not only hold juveniles responsible, adults responsible, but parents responsible for your children's conduct, to include juvenile curfews. Now, summer's coming, and we want the kids to have a good time and a fun time. They worked hard in the school this year. We don't want them to start next year with a criminal arrest record. But I'll guarantee you, they start cutting the fool, tearing up people's businesses, fighting in the streets. We're going to lock them up, all of them. And then, Mom and Daddy, if you don't hold them accountable personally, make sure they're home when they need to be, then we're going to come lock you up too, or charge you civilly.
Yeah, that's a different approach. I wonder which community will be considered safer at summer's end. Coming up at 6:06, remembering Bob Woodson. It's now 6 o'clock at AM 560 WIND.
There is slight progress
I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what Secretary of State Marco Rubio says this morning in the talks with Iran trying to work out a nuclear deal as President Trump threatens to resume bombing. Rubio at a NATO gathering in Sweden, also critical of Iran blocking shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, considering charging tolls.
There is not a country in the world that should accept that. I don't know of a country in the world that's in favor of it except Iran.
A bill aiming to limit the president's military actions in Iran is on hold in the House after Republicans delayed a vote, angering Democrats who called it cowardly. And the Senate has also left D.C. for a Memorial Day break after shelving other legislation to fund immigration, enforcement, and Border Patrol, in part because of the new $1.8 billion Trump compensation fund for people who believe they were targeted by the Biden Justice Department. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal reports some Republicans pushed back.
Missouri Senator Eric Schmidt told Fox's Chad Pergram some had questions about its scope.
I mean, look, I'm very comfortable with the idea that people who've been wronged by their government, as a lawyer, I feel comfortable that been wronged by their government should have some sort of redress.
But disagreements led to the Senate GOP saying they need to start all over again on reconciliation. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer reacted.
The only way for Republicans to get out of this box is to stop backing the slush fund. Stop pushing the ballroom.
Referencing the president's controversial White House ballroom under construction, the Senate's considering $1 billion worth of security. NASCAR fans and drivers are mourning the death of Kyle Busch, one of the winningest drivers of all time, who had just won a truck race last week. Thomas Annunziata just told Fox.
I think Denny Hamlin said it correct. I mean, we lost to Kobe Bryant of our sport, so it's unbelievable.
Kyle Busch was only 41 years old. He'd fallen ill a few days ago and was hospitalized. No cause of death has been given. Kyle Busch's older brother, Kurt, is a NASCAR Hall of Famer. America's listening to Fox News.
Mostly cloudy in the area, 53 degrees. On AM 560, The Answer in the QC Kinetics newsroom. I'm Mike Scott. Expect considerable clouds today and breezy conditions. We may get to a high of 68. In a stunning move, federal prosecutors are dropping misdemeanor charges against 4 remaining members of the so-called Broadview Six.
That was not a mistake. They intentionally redacted portions of the grand jury transcripts to even keep the court from seeing it. It is shocking. It is absolutely shocking.
U.S. Attorney Andrew Boutros saying the decision to dismiss the charges was due to improper handling of the grand jury proceedings by the lead prosecutor in that case. Republican state Illinois measure to prohibit the sale and manufacture of handguns, some legislatures say are easily convertible from semi-automatic to full auto, could be approved before the end of the month. Republican State Representative Patrick Windhorst in Springfield yesterday warned legislators of the taxpayer cost of passing a measure like this.
I think there are serious issues with the Second Amendment and with the Commerce Clause of the Constitution that will cause this bill to be ultimately found unconstitutional, which will mean we will spend dollars through the Attorney General's office of trying to defend a law that, as was pointed out in other comments, is unnecessary.
The FBI this morning looking to question multiple Milwaukee Police Department officers, all related to the 2020 election. Sources confirmed to news stations in Milwaukee the interviews, which have yet to happen, are expected to focus on officers who were present at Milwaukee's Central Count location on election night 2020, and the officers have been told they are not targets of any investigation. Mayor Brandon Johnson used a back-of-the-yards community fair as a backdrop to revise his 2026 summer safety plan, including the topic of teen takeovers that came up. CPD Superintendent Larry Snelling says his officers have recovered guns in the gathering.
There are times when everyone on the scene, including the police, including the children who are there, are in serious danger when we know that there's someone out there with guns.
A teen riot in the Hyde Park area last week resulted in the arrest of a 14-year-old who reportedly attacked police. The news service of Team Hochberg, they've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners with the best rates and service. Let Team Hochberg help you by visiting 56david.com or call 855-563-2843. Atlantic Coast Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 613114. A check of the roads in 2 minutes on AM 560.
It's almost time for AM 560's annual golf outing, presented by Signature Bank. AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation as they support America's first responder and military heroes to help America never forget 9/11. It's all happening on Monday, June 15th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. Enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Edward Jones Financial Advisor Nolan Webster and by real estate broker Ed Dring at leavingil.com. WIND, Chicago. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
You know, protecting your home should not be a headache. Many security companies, they lock you into these multi-year contracts. No, Simply Safe Home Security, they do things differently. With Simply Safe, you get award-winning 24/7 professional monitoring around $1 a day without any long-term commitment. Simply Safe, they just want to earn your trust every day by doing a great job. Right now, you'll get 50% off your custom system by going to simplysafe.com/Hannity, half off when you go to simplysafe.com/Hannity. And remember, there's no safe like Simply Safe.
My dad passed away unexpectedly. Of course, it was awful in every way, but we are very grateful that he had life insurance. So even after he was gone, he was still able to provide for us. And that's why I have life insurance for my family. Ethos.com. They make it fast and easy to get covered. It's 100% online. You get a quote in seconds, and you can apply in minutes. You get covered the same day.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required. Rates may vary.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit information kit. 800-809-7171. That's 800-809-7171.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
6:07. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. In Elmhurst, St. Charles Road and Route 83 report of an accident. Delays on I-94 in northwest Indiana, Porter County. An accident eastbound just after US 421. Also watching delays outbound on the Kennedy between Canfield and the big airport this morning. Traffic is a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Download the AM 560 mobile app. 560theanswer.com/mobile. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but first, a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mostly cloudy and breezy with a high of 67. Tonight, expect cloudy skies with a passing shower or two and a low of 55. Tomorrow, there will be a passing morning shower. Otherwise, it will be mostly cloudy with a high of 66. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So when I got word that our friend Bob Woodson had passed away on Wednesday, I thought, I'm off tomorrow, but when I'm back on Friday, I may just devote the entire 4 hours to Bob Woodson. Because certainly his life's work, the scholarship he provided, as well as the example, could warrants it and could easily fill it. It could fill weeks and weeks of 4-hour shows. Later in the program, we're going to hear from both Eli Steele and Ian Rowe, also friends of the show. You've heard on this program many times before. We're going to hear from them with more perspective on Bob Woodson's life and achievements, the importance of it. I think the Wall Street Journal even understated the understatement when they wrote in his the editorial board in an obituary and tribute. The American Civil Rights Movement has had many heroes, and one of the most unsung was Robert Woodson Sr., the native of South Philadelphia. Made his mark in the tradition of Booker T. Washington by arguing that the best path for empowering minorities and the poor is helping them lift up themselves. Yeah, unsung is right. Totally unsung. So unsung and underappreciated. A seminal intellect, an example. I like what they said, too. The best path for empowering minorities and the poor, because if you heard Bob on this show, many times he appeared, which I'm thankful for. Very thankful for his friendship over the last decade. He talked about minorities and the poor. He talked really just about the poor because he didn't look at it as through a racial prism. He looked at it through an opportunity prism. You know, the disadvantaged and the left behind come in all shapes and sizes and races. And it's interesting, we were just talking about safety, particularly in big urban centers that are the homes of a disproportionate percentage of the minorities and the poor in this country. And safety first. It's the first order priority for government at every level, should be. You can't have nice things if you don't have personal, physical safety. And the last time Bob appeared on this program was the end of March. And we were talking, as we often did, about the sort of big government leftist orthodoxy when it comes to approaching problems like public safety versus what we know actually works, and frankly, what he, through his work at the Woodson Center, proved works. And he always had a great way of framing issues, of explaining things, because he had such a fertile mind. So brilliant, really. The difference between violence interrupters and interrupting violence. The difference between taking a transactional approach to public safety and opportunity versus focusing on what is transformational.
Well, first of all, I think we must distinguish between a definition of the approach. I believe that the best way to solve violence, and we've proved it, is to support indigenous agents, grassroots leaders who are indigenous to the community. Many of them were former predators, but it is important to distinguish how it's done. The way this program and what the city and others are doing is a distortion of the approach. And they don't make a distinction between a transformed individual. It's not a transaction. You can't pay people to be healing agents, and that's where it goes off. It's a transaction. What we do at the Woodson Center is we go into these communities. We never offer money as the incentive for change. Our young people, through their personal, they model the values they want these young predators to follow. But there's no money involved in it. It is voluntary. It is first, if you transform somebody by modeling the kind of behavior you want them to follow, which our older guys do. When the people change, that's when they're eligible to receive job training and whatnot. But you never pay people to be peaceful. You reward people who have become peaceful with a job, not a handout. Our young people, once they stepped over and became peacekeepers, they were giving full-time work Some of them became plumbers. Some of them became carpenters. Others. So it's the way the city is running it. It's a distortion of a perversion of what should be done.
And the city he was talking about is, of course, Chicago, but it's not limited to Chicago. Chicago's just one of many bad examples, as we were discussing last hour. You don't pay people to be peaceful. You pay people who are agents of healing, who've chosen peace and healing at the indigenous level, as you said, at the grassroots level, to pay the transformation forward, as it were. Big difference. Somewhat subtle, because it's easy just to take the approach that we take with everything, shortcuts. Let's pay people to stop the violence. Then we give somebody a job and they're out doing something productive. But it's ineffective. And of course, as we've seen, oftentimes counterproductive. How many times have we had to ask the question, who interrupts the violence of the violence interrupters when violence interrupters are getting arrested? Because it's transactional. They have not committed to being a agent for healing in their community. And that was part of the secret sauce at the Woodson Center. By the way, just as an aside, if you want sort of the best distillation of Bob Woodson's principles from the works, his written works, I would encourage you to pick up Lessons from the Least of These. That really lays out his philosophy, I think, in the starkest and most clarifying terms. And I'll post that on X so you can, for easy shopping purposes, if you don't already have it. 312-642-5600. alphawealthgroup.com answer line, remembering Bob Woodson and trying to adopt and proselytize his example. Ron, Southside.
Hey, Dan, well, first of all, prayers to Bob Woodson's family. Yesterday, I mentioned to Gene and Amy, I thank you, Dan, for bringing him on. And you remember, I would say, Dan, thanks for bringing him on. Such a profound, genuine person, not a race hustler. Mm. And so, and I told you this story. I was talking to this talk host on a black radio station and asked her to bring him on. And so yesterday, she's like, oh, man. I said, well, you know what? It's you all's loss, not mine. But I told her, I said, I don't even talk about it anymore. I said, don't, Ron, no. I said, I asked you all to bring him on. But see, I get it. See, I understand the game. You can't bring him on because he is challenging black people, all, like you said, all people. Personal responsibility, the whole culture. And I told him, you that's not what you can't hear it, but you can have Al Sharpton, the Jesse Jackson people. So that it was just so important to me, Dan. But I think you brought him on, and I loved when you brought him on, Dan. So my prayers with his family. I told you that story. She was like, "Wow, what do I need to do?" Look him up. Mm-hmm. I mean, he comes on so he can't come on a black radio station. But I told her that's not the message that station is trying to hear. But Dan, so thanks for letting me say that. But I appreciate all the time that you brought. I mean, a wonderful man, brilliant.
Yeah.
Not a race hustler. Dan, thank you, and have a wonderful weekend. But again, I thought about you when I heard that he passed. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Ron. I appreciate that. Well, the thing is, it's, you try to do with your little perches what you can. So with my little perch, I just my minor contribution to Bob's work was to try and get him on the show as much as possible, to expose people to his clarity of thought as much as possible. I mean, he's one of those individuals, like a Thomas Sowell, like a Walter Williams. They don't really go after him. I'm talking about the radical left. They really don't go after him because he's too dangerous. You know, if you're too dangerous to the race hustlers, the identitaries, gambits, they don't try to take you out. They try to ignore you if they can. There was not a real interest in wrangling with Bob Woodson, much like wrangling on economics with Thomas Sowell. You don't want a piece of that. That's a no-go zone for the left. Number one, because he goes back to the civil rights movement. He was there, like Shelby Steele. And he took away very different lessons from his experience and was charting a very different path, a dangerous path, one that isn't rooted in government dependency. But he had both the bona fides of his life experience as well as a prodigious intellect. And that's not something we should mess with. We're likely to be made the fool if we do. So let's just leave him alone and hope, not too many people get wind of him and his center and the work they're doing to displace our model. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have examples on our website. The Benning Terrace Mail is where we went into an area in Washington, D.C. called Benning Terrace. It was a public housing development where there were 53 murders in a 5-square-block area in 2 years because of these warring factions. Well, we trained 5 ex-offender, a group called the Alliance of Concerned Men. These are young men who had moral authority and social trust of the young men, and they went in there and brought 16 of these warring factions together in my office. But money was not a part of it. There was a moral and a spiritual appeal. And it was only after these young men decided to put down their guns did we follow with employing them to clean up the very community that they destroyed. And for 12 years, we didn't have a single crew-related murder. But it never started with money. It never started with a bribe. They weren't paid to be peaceful. They were persuaded to by following the example presented to them by these transformed former predators who became ambassadors of peace. So it's very different than what is being discussed.
Eli Steele's piece over at his Substack, Man of Steel. And again, we'll talk to Eli later in the program. Entitled, Bob Woodson Taught Me America's Wounds Heal Only Through Truth and Courage. He writes in part, what gave Bob his fire, his light, and his unwavering desire to connect every single one of his people to the American dream? He used the phrase his people, quote unquote, freely and proudly, because he saw clearly what was being done to them. He believed they were being fed the bad ideas of dependency by whites who wanted racial redemption for themselves more than they wanted black development. The liberal welfare politics that followed the civil rights movement had, in Bob's view, trapped millions of low-income blacks in a state of dependency while enriching the elite class of professionals and politicians who managed their poverty. At the same time, Bob sought to build bridges with whites, but on the right terms, not through guilt, not through dependency. He sought to create that bridge, the American principles that he believed belonged to everyone equally. He had a ritual, writes Eli Steele. He would look out at a room that often contained a smattering of whites and then say with mischievous wink, I absolve every one of you. Not one of you is guilty. I absolve you all of the racial sins of the past. People would laugh, but underneath the joke was a profound and deliberate act. Right. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. Dispense with the hand-wringing and the right, and the ersatz pursuit of absolution. And let's get on to the development. Joe in Hoffman Estates.
Good morning, Dan. Bob Woodson, like Charlie Kirk, wanted people to be accountable for themselves, and the left hated that. I actually met a leftist who said that he spewed hate yesterday, and she said, just like Charlie Kirk. I was dumbfounded.
Well, Bob Woodson belongs in a category unto himself, number one. Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be the ignorant out there that use that as a handle. Everybody I disagree with spews hate, so I don't have to address the substance of their work or belief system. Mm-hmm. But as I posted on X, Bob Woodson, this is, in my view, Bob Woodson he was a humble servant of the Almighty and a prodigious intellect, an OG civil rights leader, a solutionist, a transformer of men, a master storyteller who picked the right stories to tell. And, of course, most importantly, he was a cigar aficionado like myself, so we had a lot of fun talking about that. And I take credit for turning him on to some good smokes that he enjoyed as well. Yeah. But we'll go back. I mean, I need somebody, but Woodson Center I'm sure will, but I want to do it myself just for my own edification. Go back. So many of the arguments he made on the pages of the Wall Street Journal, in his books, on this show, like the ones you just heard from his last appearance back at the end of March, are so good. And also his philosophy of, when whites were at their worst, blacks were at their best, telling the stories of black achievement, which the Woodson Center does now through these great sort of vignettes that they've cartoonized, but they're really well produced, they're well written, but it's the stories of success and achievement in spite of real institutional racism in our country's history, to provide Black Americans and all Americans the example of resilience and overcoming and being at your best, even if the system and other people are at their worst.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available. Financing is flexible. And at Air Right, installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you, and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Picture warm Gulf breezes, turquoise waters, white sand beaches. Now, add evenings of conversation with Salem Media's Mike Gallagher, Scott Jennings, Larry O'Connor, and Jennifer Horn. This November, sail from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Mexico on a 7-day journey built for those who love this country. Book your cabin today when you text the word cruise to 94878. Celebrate America's 250th anniversary the right way on the Gulf of America Cruise. Book your cabin now. Text the word cruise to 94878.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel. across America.
Have you been watching gold and silver lately? Hard to ignore. Back in January of 2025, silver was under $30 an ounce, and now it's more than doubled. Again, not bad, right? Some experts say this bull market is just getting started. Others say it's a good time to take some money off the table. Either way, whether you're buying or selling, Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is the place to go. They stock large quantities of all the major bullion coins and bars. And here's what sets them apart. Unlike places that only pay melt value, Fox Valley Coins pays more for high-grade coins and scarcer dates. That's real money left in your pocket. They also buy scrap sterling flatware, jewelry, silver-plated items, and old proof sets. And they specialize in U.S. and foreign collector and investment coins and currency, both buying and selling. Fox Valley Coins, one light north of I-88 on Route 59 at Ferry Road in Naperville. Family-owned with integrity since 1981.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 6:36, we'll be speaking with Andrew Claven. We haven't talked to him in a while. Always fun. We'll talk about the situation in Iran. We'll talk about the mosque shooting and the violence on the political left. By the way, the mosque shooting in San Diego was violence of the political left. We'll pour over that with Andrew Claven at 6:36. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Clouds and 53 degrees in the QC Kinetics newsroom and considerably cloudy throughout the day with a high near 68. President Donald Trump has stirred some confusion this morning by saying the U.S. will now send an additional 5,000 American troops to Poland. It follows weeks of changing statements from the White House about future troop levels in Europe. And the president has again raised the specter of military intervention in Cuba. This morning, Secretary of State Marco Rubio told reporters separately the Trump administration is seeking to resolve differences with Cuba peacefully.
The future of Cuba belongs to the people of Cuba in terms of how they're governed, what the system looks like, and so forth. But the national security threat, that's 100% something we're going to focus on because that's about America.
The renewed threat Thursday takes on greater weight after the administration announced criminal charges against Cuban President Raul Castro. The EPA directing nearly $300 million in funding to protect Illinois from exposure to lead in drinking water. Illinois receiving about 10% of the federal allocation of dollars, the largest allocation among all 50 states. More than 400,000 of the state's lead service lines are in Chicago as a result of city building codes which were not updated until 1986. The Bears are reaffirming plans. They're leaving Chicago. Team released a statement saying they've exhausted every opportunity to stay in the city, but there is not a viable site. The Bears say only sites under consideration include Arlington Heights and Hammond, Indiana. The FBI looking to question multiple Milwaukee Police Department officers, all related to a 2020 election investigation. Sources are confirming that to news stations in Milwaukee. The interviews, which have yet to happen, are expected to focus on officers who were present at the Milwaukee Central Count location on election night 2020. The officers have been told they are not the target of that investigation. Mayor Brandon Johnson used a back-of-the-yards community fair as backdrop to revise a 2026 summer safety plan that includes addressing ongoing teen takeovers. CPD Superintendent Larry Snelling says officers have recovered guns in those gatherings.
There are times when everyone on the scene, including the police, including the children who are there, are in serious danger when we know that there's someone out there with guns.
The news is a service of Mattress Firm. Ready to upgrade to the perfect sleep setup? Let Mattress Firm sleep experts guide you to the perfect bed at their Memorial Day sale. Top brands, ideal comfort, score unbeatable deals at Mattress Firm. A check of traffic and weather coming up next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher shares a scary stat.
74% of Americans, including 91% of Republicans and 70% of independents, say the U.S. is winning against Iran. Do you want to know what percentage of Democrats side with Iran? 40%. Nearly half of Democrats are cheering for Iran. Let that sink in.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Platform safety is critical at your commercial and industrial facility. Keeping people safe and meeting OSHA requirements isn't optional. That's why Vans Industrial offers free platform inspections by professional structural engineers who know exactly what to look for. Problems with platforms, ladders, or stairs can lead to costly fines or worse. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to protect people in your facility.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. With decades of experience, I bring long-standing industry knowledge from inspecting, correcting, and replacing countless platforms to make facilities safer. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor equipped to modify or replace steel catwalks, handrails, stairways, and ladders. Our union building trades professionals fabricate and install high-quality steel systems that create safer work environments.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free platform inspection by professional structural engineers. See what else we can do for you. Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS industrial.com.
Memorial Day is more than a long weekend. It's a time to honor the men and women who gave everything for this country. And what better way to show your patriotism than with a handcrafted American flag built to last for generations? At uniquewoodenflags.com, every flag is handcrafted from quality wood with a beautiful rustic finish that turns any room, office, garage, or backyard into a tribute to America. Choose from classic American flags, military branch flags, thin blue line designs, Don't Tread on Me flags, our very popular Trump collection, and more. These aren't cheap plastic flags from a big box store. These are handcrafted pieces of American pride. Honor our heroes this Memorial Day and give a gift that actually means something. Visit uniquewoodenflags.com. That's uniquewoodenflags.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-682-3311. That's 800-682-3311. 800-682-3311.
Amazon Business. Unlock smart business buying with fast, free delivery on millions of items and practical AI innovations that automate repetitive tasks. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
6:38, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. A service of Fox Valley Coins in Naperville, easy to get to off I-88 on Route 59 in Naperville. Family-owned integrity since 1981. Downers Grove, an accident. Butterfield and Findlay. Addison, an accident. Addison Road in Moreland. Warrenville, an accident. A crash at Winfield just north of Butterfield. An accident on the Tri-State. Right shoulder southbound between Cermak and Ogden. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But first, a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. Considerably cloudy and a high near 68 today. Showers overnight, a low of 54.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Props here. The unrelenting Spencer Pratt campaign for mayor of L.A. We talked a bit about it this earlier this week, I guess I should say. The secret Pratt voters, very similar to the secret Trump voters, particularly in 2016, less so by 2024. But shh, don't tell anyone, but I'm voting for Trump. Spencer Pratt and the people who are voting for him.
The gays are with me. I have the entire gay vote, period. So I think she missed her, everyone's missing who's voting for me. The only people that aren't are the socialists, the lunatics, and the communists. But any normal functioning brain that doesn't want to step in human poop when they get their matcha is voting for me, which is a lot of people. It's a lot of people.
It is. One just wonders if the socialists, the communists, and the lunatics are enough for Karen Bass to get reelected. In L.A., they might be. But on those secret voters who have not yet mustered the courage to tell people out loud they are voting for Spencer Pratt, he's got an ad for that.
This mayor race is really heating up. Who you guys voting for? Haven't decided? Same, haven't really been following it. Same. Same? Same. I'm not MAGA or anything. But the city's kind of gone to shit, though, right? Oh, yeah. Jessica stepped on a needle at the playground the other day. I'm not MAGA or anything, though. I'm not MAGA or anything, but have you been downtown lately? Looks like an episode of The Walking Dead. Not that I'm MAGA or anything, though. Spencer Pratt seems like he has some good ideas. Not that I'm MAGA or anything. He does seem really angry all the time, though. Well, they did burn his house down. Also, apparently he's staying at the Bel Air Hotel, not the trailer on his property. Well, yeah. They burned his house down. Okay, we're all adults here. How about on 3, we just say who we're voting for? 1, 2, 3. Spencer Pratt. Yeah. Spencer Pratt. Spencer Pratt. Can you imagine if our wives knew?
We're all voting for Spencer Pratt, right? Of course. Obviously. I wish I could vote yesterday.
I mean, it was almost Family Guy quality. Really good. A bunch of guys in a backyard barbecue finally confiding in one another. For more on that race and other matters, please be joined by Andrew Klavan, host of The Andrew Klavan Show at the Daily Wire. Substack at The New Jerusalem, thenewjerusalem.substack.com. And he's the author, most recently, of The Kingdom of Cain, Finding God in the Literature of Darkness. Andrew Klavan, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
So you're an L.A. guy. Give us your handle on the Spencer Pratt phenomenon, if it is one.
Yeah, it definitely is. I was an LA guy until I had to get out because the city was just coming apart at the seams.
Right.
I lived in a very nice neighborhood in the Hollywood Hills, and by the time I left, I was patrolling my little patch of yard with a gun at night to make sure nobody had moved in. So the city really has spiraled out of control. The fire was insanely unnecessary, and the fact that nobody can replace their homes because of the red tape is crazy. And where are all the billions of dollars that state received for its fast train and for its Medicare? The money just vanishes. The Democrat Party in California is a criminal enterprise. And so what's really interesting, that ad is very funny. I saw that before I came on this morning. And the other ads where he's Batman and where he's dealing, with Dark Knight level communism, those ads are not made. This one may be, but those other ads were not made by the Spencer Pratt campaign.
Right.
They were made by individuals, which tells you that there is this upsurge that goes beyond politics in this city. People don't really understand this about California. There is a strong libertarian Republican streak in California. Hollywood, for all the communism that comes out of the mouths of people when they're accepting their awards, is the most capitalist enterprise in the country. It is a place where money talks and everything else walks, And so And so every now and again, when things get too bad, they do have a habit of putting a Republican in place, as in fact New York did under Giuliani when things got too bad, and he turned this entire city around. And so it's not impossible. I mean, the Democrat Party is so deeply in control at Boss Tweed levels of corruption that maybe they can, rig the ballot box, as I think, Gavin Newsom actually threatened to do in the governor's race. But I don't know. People can rise up, and they, if they vote strong enough, you can't cheat.
Yeah, that's what we had this conversation earlier in the week with Alex Marlowe from Breitbart, who's still in L.A. County, not in L.A. proper. But his point was, as exciting as this is and as useful as the Spencer Pratt campaign is, particularly with the attitude on display and as much traction as it's getting, it's such a controlled vote in L.A., like major cities, we know this well in Chicago, because of the government unions, that he's still fairly skeptical that Spencer Pratt can get across the finish line ultimately.
Yeah, it's always a long shot because it is a one-party state. And when you have a one-party state, especially if that party is the Democrats, as you know, you're going to have a lot of corruption and a lot of cheating. And so Alex is very sharp, and he's right about that. But that doesn't mean it's impossible.
Yeah. Karen Bass, by contrast, is just doubling down. I mean, what else can they do, I suppose? And they probably feel like she probably still feels like this is a nuisance, but we're invulnerable because of the infrastructure we're describing. But she picked up on this proposal that's emanating from the city council to allow non-citizens to vote in local elections in L.A. and says, it's something she hasn't seen the details, and we need to, work on the specifics of it. But it's something she's very open to, which was a great understatement, of course. But they continue to. I wouldn't say push the envelope. They continue to run screaming over the edge on these issues, and just one wonders if how that is being received in the context of all of these other quality of life issues that are being highlighted.
Well, it's easy to tell. I mean, the first thing you have to understand about California is it's paradise. The weather there is so good. People joke about it, but it's like a drug. I mean, even when I go to visit my friends in California, I step off the plane and suddenly I'm happier than I was.
Yeah.
But people are moving out. They are losing population because people are leaving the state. So you've got a government that has you leaving paradise. Think about that. I mean, I'm not sure that's happened since Adam and Eve. People are moving out of paradise. That's how bad the governance is. And yeah, they double down on it, and maybe they can cheat their way back to victory. But ultimately, they're going to be governing a state that's simply homeless people and crazies.
To the larger issue, at least when it comes to the economic thinking that's happening in these blue islands, as David Axelrod called them, metropolitan areas, and driving policy in big blue states like California, New York, Illinois. Jeff Bezos sat down to do an extended interview for CNBC, and he was asked by Aaron Ross Sorkin about AOC's comment that you can't legitimately make $1 billion. You can only do it through graft and corruption and crime. And this was Bezos' response.
AOC recently said in a podcast, I'm just curious how you think about this, says there's a certain level of wealth and accumulation that is unearned, she says. You can't earn $1 billion. You just can't earn that, she says. You can get market power, you can break rules, you can abuse labor laws, you can pay people less than what they're worth, but you can't earn that. Yeah. By the way, you've earned an extraordinary amount of money. You employ largest employer, if not one of them, in the whole country. When you read that, what do you think?
Well, it's not correct on its face. Let me give you a simple example. Let's say you start a burger joint and you have 10 employees, and you make a little bit of money, right? Until you have this one outlet. And by the way, these are the most delicious burgers in the world. People love your burgers, Andrew. And so then you open a second outlet, right? And now you're making a little bit more money, and you have 20 employees, and you open a third outlet. By the time you've opened 1,000 outlets, you are a billionaire. Right. And by the way, this is a real life story. It happens all the time. It's In-N-Out Burger. It's Raising Cane's Chicken. At what point did that money all of a sudden become unethical, or it didn't? There was one outlet and then there were 2, and then there were 3. What you're doing, the way you make $1 billion or $100 million or $10 million or anything, is you create a service that people love. And if millions of people choose your service, you're going to end up with $1 billion.
Right.
And you can, just try it with a chicken franchise.
It's nice. We were talking about L.A. being a capitalist haven, even if they don't preach what they practice. It's nice to hear Jeff Bezos, who generally is a man of the left, offer a concrete Friedman-esque distillation of capitalism.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you want to know who you want to have money, Jeff Bezos or the government, think of whether you'd rather order something on Amazon or get it from the DMV. I mean, Amazon is the most amazing business I've ever seen. I press a key and a guy's knocking on my door, delivering a book that's been out of print for 50 years. It's an absolutely great invention. The thing is, though, this is a little bit more basic, I think, than this. The left economic theory is that the money is somehow just there and it somehow belongs to all of us. But that's not true. A guy like Jeff Bezos creates wealth. He creates the money. Money is just a symbol of something he made. He created value by building possibly the greatest, retail shop ever made on earth. And he created that value and he gets a slice of it. That money that he gets, it is certainly earned. And I do not understand at what point it belongs to AOC or belongs to the government. I don't understand how much somebody has to make before his money belongs to me, because every guy he employs, he employs more people than the government could possibly support. I think employers should treat their workers with respect and pay them what they're worth and do all the things that they should do to keep the capitalist system running in a fair and reasonable way. But at some point, you have built something that is worth so much that $1 billion is just a small little slice off the value you have created. And all of those people who are working because of Jeff Bezos, all of the services that are being delivered are just counted out because they think there's somehow God just put this big pile of money there in the center of the world for them to distribute. One thing the late, great David Horowitz taught me, he said, he was a former communist who became a right-winger when he found out the truth. He said to me, if you listen closely, you will find out that the left never asks where money comes from. They only ask how they can get their hands on it. Mm-hmm. And it's piracy. And that's exactly right.
And the other thing that he did in that interview, which is not done near enough, he went full sort of like Hank Rearden, Howard Rourke, talking about how he does more good with the businesses that he has built than he does with his philanthropical giving. And it's one of those things that you don't have enough people say often enough, which is that, my business is a social service organization, and the profit motive is how I do all this good, create all this wealth and opportunity in conjunction with others in a collaborative environment. So sort of all the principles that the left likes to throw around in theory, I actually put to practice, and I do a lot more good motivated by profit and building than I do just writing checks to people to favored NGOs.
Well, exactly. If you listen to Bernie Sanders talk about AI is obviously an extraordinarily powerful tool, and it's going to cause some disruption. And I take that seriously. I think we ought to deal with the disruption. But on the other end of it is going to be just like the internet. It's going to be a powerful tool for profit and good and human creation. And Bernie Sanders wants to stop it because it's going to put people out of jobs that may have become obsolete. And this is the way a leftist government always works. You invent a car and they say, no, you're going to put the buggy whip makers out of work. And they can't imagine past that point to, the mechanics and the gas stations and all of the wealth those cars are going to create, all the new businesses those cars are going to create. If I look at my resume today, a great deal of the money that I make in my life is from things that didn't exist when I started out. I just started out wanting to be a book writer, and I'm still a book writer, but I also do all this other stuff on the internet that has been a huge part of my career. I couldn't have imagined that into being. Somebody had to imagine the technology for me to then imagine what I could do with the technology. That's something government just can't do. Only individuals do that. It's a guy in a garage who invents computers. It's not the big government project. If you go back and study the invention of the airplane, it's two bicycle guys from Ohio, while the government was trying to make planes that kept falling into the sea. So, setting people free to do what they do is what capitalism is great for. I agree that there can be excesses. I agree that employers can mistreat their employees. They're bad people. They're sinful people. We're all sinful. But, that's a good excuse for some little regulation to make sure the playing field is fair. But after that, if you let people go, they will create the future in a way the government can't do. The government is always saying, well, you couldn't do it without the roads we built. Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk can build a road, but the government can't do what they do.
Andrew Klavan, host of the Andrew Klavan Show at the Daily Wire, his Substack, The New Jerusalem, thenewjerusalem.substack.com. Also, his latest book, The Kingdom of Cain, Finding God in the Literature of Darkness. Andrew, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Great to talk to you. Thanks a lot.
And Andrew joined us on the Alpha Wealth Pro, alphawealthgroup.com answer line, that is.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Fight or flight? In Illinois, you've got both options. You can stay and fight, engage in local races, work to change things. Or you can vote with your feet. At leavingil.com, we help you build a smart exit plan so you know where to go, when to go, and how to do it right. Take our quick exit readiness assessment. Go to leavingil.com. That's leavingil.com. Or call 224-800-6979.
Hey, I'm Kirk Cameron. Is health insurance eating up your budget for 2026? If you're looking for ways to better steward your finances, consider this: Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's a health insurance alternative at half the cost. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. While insurance companies tell you when to join, what to pay, and where to go, CHM is different. As a ministry, CHM allows you to share the burden of medical bills with other Christians. You can enroll, switch programs, or leave at any time. Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's a world of difference. CHM has 4 flexible programs. You can pick any certified doctor, surgeon, or hospital that you want for eligible care. So make the switch. Take your paycheck back from health insurance this year. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org/wellness.
Hey, business owners, is your business and money in good hands? Does your bank invest in your success? Hi, Mike Gallagher here, letting you know that when you need a relationship bank, Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. I love these guys. Not only do they have expansive industry experience, a strong financial track record, but they're also highly capitalized for strategic growth. That's so important. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. They know what it means to grow a business by designing solutions that are right for you and only you. These are real people. They're ready to help. So reach out to my friends at Signature Bank. Make the call today, 773-467-5630, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Your business could be Signature Bank's next success story. Go online, signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Signature Bank.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 7:07, we'll talk to Pastor Corey Brooks, Project Hood, about trying to live the example provided by Bob Woodson on the South Side. Talk also about teen takeovers and what we can expect this summer from Corey Brooks' perspective. Pastor Corey Brooks at 7:07. It is now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
It is confusing and not easy to navigate. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what Sweden's foreign minister says this morning about dealing with the U.S. and NATO at a gathering of the alliance in her country. Led by NATO's leader Mark Rutte, Secretary of State Marco Rubio's there, and so is Fox's Jillian Turner.
One of the things Secretary Rubio spoke about with Mark Rutte is this forward deployment of an additional 5,000 U.S. troops to Poland, something that President Trump announced overnight on Truth Social.
Earlier this month, the U.S. announced a plan to pull 5,000 troops out of Germany as the president's critical of our allies not doing enough in the Iran conflict. Rubio says there is a bit of progress in talks with Iran, but it keeps blocking shipping in the Strait of Hormuz.
Iran is trying to create a tolling system. They're trying to convince Oman, by the way, to join them in this tolling system in an international waterway. There is not a country in the world that should accept that.
A late-night Trump critic has gone off the air. Stephen Colbert's last show was last night.
We were here to feel the news with you. And I don't know about you, but I sure have felt it.
CBS says the decision to cancel The Late Show was purely financial, but Colbert supporters believe it was political. The president wrote this about Colbert on Truth Social after that last show.
No talent, no ratings, no life. He was like a dead person. You could take any person off of the street and they would be better than this total jerk. Thank goodness he's finally gone.
Fox's Carly Shimkus. He's considered one of the greatest race car drivers ever. And Kyle Busch's death has shocked NASCAR. He was only 41. Fox's Chanley Painter has a family statement.
Remembering the husband and father of 2 children as a future Hall of Famer, a rare talent who was fierce and passionate. And just last Friday, Busch gave his final post-race interview after his second win of the season in the Craftsman Truck Series.
Why do these moments never get old, Kyle?
Because you never know when the last one is, you know.
Kyle Busch's 234 wins is a NASCAR record. No cause of death has been given yet. America's listening to Fox News.
Clouds and 53 degrees at 7:02. I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Illinois House Republicans say Governor J.B. Pritzker's housing proposals will give local control to state politicians. State Representative Jennifer Sanalitro saying the governor's build plan would take zoning decisions away from your local community and move them all to Springfield.
That means decisions about what gets built in our neighborhoods could be made by politicians who don't live in or even know our area.
But Pritzker said in Chicago this week his proposal is a very light change.
The reality is that there is still all of the local control about the height restrictions, about how close the setback could be to the street, all of those other things.
Already major suburbs like Addison, Elk Grove Village, Hanover Park, and Schaumburg are formally opposing the governor's build plan. An Illinois measure to prohibit the sale and manufacture of some handguns that legislators say are easily convertible could be approved before the end of the month. Here's AM 560's Greg Bishop.
Republican State Representative Patrick Windhorst warned legislators of the taxpayer cost of passing measures later challenged in the courts on constitutional grounds.
I think there are serious issues with the Second Amendment and with the Commerce Clause of the Constitution that will cause this bill to be ultimately found unconstitutional, which will mean we will spend dollars through the Attorney General's office up trying to defend a law that, as was pointed out in other comments, is unnecessary.
House Bill 4471 wouldn't ban the possession of such handguns, but would prohibit them from being sold, transferred, or manufactured.
Greg Bishop, legislators have until May 31 to pass most bills for an immediate effective date with simple majorities. The Bears are reaffirming plans that they're leaving Chicago. The team releasing a statement yesterday saying they've exhausted every opportunity to stay in Chicago, and the only sites under consideration are Arlington Heights and Hammond, Indiana. The news is a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device. Download the app, 560theanswer.com/mobile. A check of the roads in 2 minutes on AM 560.
It's almost time for AM 560's annual golf outing, presented by Signature Bank. AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation as they support America's first responder and military heroes to help America never forget 9/11. It's all happening on Monday, June 15th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. Enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Edward Jones Financial Advisor Nolan Webster and by real estate broker Ed Dring at leavingil.com.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit information kit. 800-809-7171. That's 800-809-7171.
If you're considering investing in precious metals, don't wait. The Iranian conflict seems to be nearing an end, and the time is now to position your retirement for massive growth. Advantage Gold is America's #1 precious metals company, and they want to send you a free gold and silver investor guide valued at $49 when you call 800-900-8000. Plus, you'll get a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Our specialists can help you open a new account or transfer funds from an existing IRA, tax and penalty-free, and show you how a gold-backed IRA can put real, tangible assets into your retirement portfolio. Markets react to news cycles, but gold has maintained its value through inflation, volatility, and economic uncertainty. When the purchasing power of the dollar declines, that's when investors turn to gold and silver. Make your move now. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Results may vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Team Hochberg Traffic Center time at 7:07, a service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privileges. Well, you can join today, 560theanswer.com/join. Butterfield and Finley in Downers Grove, an accident cleared. Wooddale, Bensonville, right on the border. Bussey Road at Sherwood Drive, report of an accident. There's big delays as you head into the big airport this morning as I-190 is jamming up into O'Hare today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect mostly cloudy skies with a brisk breeze, reaching a high of 67. Tonight will be cloudy with a chance of a passing shower or two and temperatures dropping to a low of 55. Tomorrow, anticipate a passing morning shower followed by thick cloud cover throughout the day with temperatures peaking at 66. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Going back to that Bezos interview, we played a clip from in our discussion with Andrew Claven last hour. You know, Bezos's beginnings were even more modest than starting Amazon 30 years ago in a 3-bedroom house that located in Bellevue, Washington, that he rented. In that sit-down he did with Andrew Ross Sorkin, telling the story of his parents.
I think of my parents, and I think of how they uplifted me, and I think of where they started. I think, my dad is a Cuban immigrant. He came to this country right after Castro took over, and he was a 16-year-old boy who didn't speak a word of English. He came all by himself. His parents weren't allowed to leave. He was at a refugee camp in the Everglades, and he built himself up. My mom had me she was in high school. She was a 17-year-old mom. It wasn't cool to be a pregnant mother in high school in Albuquerque, New Mexico in 1964, and she brought herself up. And so I look at that and I think, I want to make sure that the people who are struggling today have a chance to do that too, to bring themselves up, and maybe they're going to be the next Steve Jobs. Maybe they're going to be, maybe one of their kids will be the next Steve Jobs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's about those opportunities, and you look back at these success stories and say, well, if they could do it, and not necessarily become a billionaire, but if they could do it, build a successful life in this country, then why can't everybody else who is otherwise right of mind and able-bodied? Well, that's part of the challenge that Bob Woodson lodged to the leftist orthodox thinking that dominates so many big cities that have seemingly intractable problems and a seeming permanent underclass. I thinking about Bob Woodson's life and work, as we were talking about earlier in the program. It's worth noting that the original name of his organization, the Woodson Center, the original name, and I remember this because I remember watching him on Crossfire. I'm like, who's this guy? Center for Neighborhood Enterprise. Center for Neighborhood Enterprise was the original name of Woodson's organization that later morphed into the Woodson Center. Well, the original name tells you a lot about his orientation. We need to be incubators of opportunity in these neighborhoods that seemingly lack opportunity. It seems like a structural lack of it. And we're trying, this was probably 2 decades into the Great Society, we're trying these programs, and all I see is the problems being exacerbated. He knew dependency wasn't the answer. One of those individuals living as a practitioner, the Bob Woodson model, is Pastor Corey Brooks, who's the senior pastor of New Beginnings Church in Chicago, Southside, and founder and CEO of Project Hood. Pastor Brooks joins us now. Corey, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it so much.
So before we get into Woodson, just some housekeeping issues. You're doing this walk across America to raise the rest of the money that you need to complete this big community center that you're building on the South Side. So I know you've had some foot issues, so you're sidelined for the moment, but tell us where things stand with the walk, the money raised, the community center on the South Side.
Yeah, so we've raised about $4.5 million, and today I go to the doctors to see what's up. And so hopefully I get a final release so we can get back out there. We were supposed to start on the 14th, but we were, held up by the doctor. So today we'll find out what's going on, and hopefully I get a release and we can get started back.
Okay, and where do things stand with the construction of the community center, and what's your what's your horizon?
The community center is about 80% complete. We're having a big event on June the 27th. I think that's on the on the Saturday, whatever that Saturday is, the 27th or 28th. We're having a donor event where people get the chance to come down and see the center. It won't be completed, but it'll be almost done, and they'll get to see all the wonderful work that's been done and how much more we have to do. And it's going to be a great day. So we're inviting all those who are listening, who have donated or who would like to contribute, to come on down to the South Side of Chicago and check out the Project Hood Leadership and Economic Opportunity Center, the Robert R. McCormick Opportunity Center.
And there you go. You got a title sponsor. That always helps. Are you where are you with best case scenario, the completion schedule?
Yes. Best case scenario is our projected open date is October. The first weekend in October is our grand opening. And so if everything goes the way that we're planning a great ribbon cutting ceremony. We'll invite all of our donors. Of course, we'll invite you down and have a good time. And so that's the goal. First weekend in October.
All right. I'll try to make sure I get my tickets to the Obama land so it's in such a way that doesn't conflict with that. So tell me about this event that you had last weekend, this 1,000 Men Unity Gathering. What was the impetus and the purpose?
Well, the purpose was we need to create some violence-free zones in our neighborhoods. We have to take a stand, and we can't keep waiting on the government to come in and fix our problems. So this is about us calling all the men in our neighborhood from all the different sectors to say, hey, listen, let's start making some violence-free zones. This needs to be the first zone, and we need to start standing on the business of making sure that young people understand that we're not going to tolerate any type of violence to be committed in places like the one that we're building. So we called men from the west side and south side and all over Chicago, and we really focused on guys who used to be in gangs, who have some influence in the streets, because we wanted to get the message out. And we wanted to let people know that this center is not just for the people on O Block, the people who live in our neighborhood. It's for the city of Chicago, and we wanted to establish that. And that's the reason why we had so many brothers come out. And it was an awesome event.
And we talked about this in the context of Bob Woodson earlier in the show. But the difference between being in the business of transformation versus being in the business of transaction. You know, Bob said, I don't pay. We don't pay people to be peaceful. We support people who are indigenous healers of their neighborhoods, communities. They've transformed themselves, and so now they're in a position to transform others. And I know that's a philosophy that you've adopted as well.
Absolutely. That's what I believe in totally. Like you said, I'm a practitioner of a lot of the things that Bob Woodson taught, a lot of the principles that he stood on and believed. I gleaned from him. And so we believe those same things, that it's about transformation. It's not about transaction. And if we're going to continue to have growth and development, we have to create opportunities, which we're trying to do, but we have to make people take responsibility and accountability for their own lives and not to be so dependent upon other people to make sure that they get the help that they need. They gotta learn to. It is a struggle at times, but every opportunity exists in America for an individual to take advantage of if they want to.
Right. And I mean, and part of this is the storytelling piece of it too, is accentuating the success stories as opposed to just, always sort of hand-wringing over the less successful stories or the failures, frankly. And so, Bezos' story about his parents. I mean, if a Cuban immigrant who doesn't speak English can build a life for himself and raise a son like Jeff Bezos to build what he built, then you can do that too in this country. Again, the stories that Woodson would tell, the stories of Black success, of Black achievement, so that we're always not hemmed in by talking about the societal ills. We want to accentuate the models of success that could be replicated.
Absolutely. That's what we believe needs to happen. And that's the reason why we created the center. And that's the reason why we're trying to have a place where we can highlight Black excellence and that individuals can know that, listen, regardless of what you've come through or what you've been up against and where you come from, in America, you have every opportunity to pull yourself up, get yourself together. You're going to have to work hard. It's not going to be given to you, nor should it be given to you, because the struggle is going to make you strong. And so we believe that if we continue to create these opportunities and have this center where we are able to give people the type of discipline and the type of programs, the type of encouragement and input and mentorship that they need, there should be absolutely no reason why an individual should not succeed.
So you had this gathering of practitioners of peace from around the city. A lot of the discussion right now is about so-called teen takeovers that have started and may be coming this summer. Here was Brandon Johnson's response to teen takeovers.
Let me be absolutely clear. Remember when we had multiple arrests at a gathering, and then another gathering happened the following week? If we believe that we can arrest our way towards safety, we're wrong. We ask police officers to do too much.
What's your reaction to that? What was your corresponding message about things like teen takeovers?
That's the problem that we're experiencing in the city of Chicago. The leadership is lacking. Whenever you start taking a stand that people should not be held accountable for their actions week after week after week, therein lies the problem, because you're taking the guardrails off of everything. And when you take the guardrails off of young people, they're going to do exactly what we're saying. We're going to see them display themselves in a way that is so demeaning to our city that we can't possibly function at the capacity that we need to. So children, young people need to be held accountable day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And we need to allow our police department. That's one of the reasons why I'm a big supporter of Larry Snell, the commander. I think he wants to do the job, and he's trying to do his job, but he is definitely handcuffed.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's the only one who gets handcuffed in Brandon Johnson's world.
Exactly.
I mean, that just a philosophy that was displayed there. So because some people committed crimes and got arrested, and then people of the same that are part of that cohort also committed crimes subsequent to that, means we should stop arresting people who commit crimes. I mean, it's hard to follow that logic.
Yeah, it's like saying, hey, somebody robbed a bank this week and another bank got robbed next week. Let's just stop arresting bank robbers.
Yeah, right. We can't arrest our way out of bank robbery. Yeah, so we just stop arresting them. Yeah, sure, perfect. Okay, so we're going to find out soon if you get dock clearance to resume your walk and the money raised. And just remind people, community center, the details here, what you're planning for your community center that will be oriented towards the creation of opportunity, the transformation, the transmission of particular values that are the baseline for successful living. What is the vision for the community center, the kind of programs that people can expect to see and should pitch in to support?
One of the things that Bob Woodson used to talk about is that you have to change people's mindsets, but you also have to give them the skill set. And so our center is totally focused around helping people to transform their mindset, but also giving them the skill set. So we have a trade school, we have an entrepreneurial school, we have a place where our trade school consists of carpentry, electrical, roofing, automotive, and welding. And those are types of things that will allow a person to take responsibility and to get the skill set to get a job, which in turn will give them the dignity and help them to change their mindset. We also offer counseling services, free trauma counseling services, and family services. We have a financial literacy place that we're going to be teaching financial literacy. We have a bank with Wintrust Bank, a full-scale bank, a lot of the literacy stuff they're going to be sponsoring. We have, of course, a swimming pool because we want our kids to be able to enjoy. You wouldn't believe it, but there's absolutely no working swimming pool within a 5-mile radius of where we are. So the kids don't have, even in the park, they don't even get access to the pool that's there on the south side. And so we're going to have a swimming pool. We have 2 NBA basketball courts. We have a music and dance studio, a TV production studio, all kind of office space. And it's just a fantastic facility. And then I can't forget the 350-seat theater.
Okay. All right. Very good. Corey Brooks, Pastor Corey Brooks, Senior Pastor, New Beginnings Church of Chicago, founder and CEO of Project Hood. He's doing the Walk Across America. That hasn't stopped. It's just on hiatus until he's back at full strength. ProjectHood.org to support, to follow along, to stay abreast. Pastor Brooks, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it. Good luck with the foot.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's always a blessing to be on this show. Call me anytime.
All right. Very good. Pastor Brooks joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Let Cole Digital turn your outdoor space into the ultimate entertainment setup. With a 75-inch SunBright outdoor TV that can stay out year-round and great sound throughout. Like planter speakers on the patio, high-quality rock speakers that blend right into your landscape, or bronze garden speakers that blend into the environment. Our technicians will dig a hole and install an in-ground subwoofer for incredible bass and the best in sound quality. We also install outdoor rated access points for Wi-Fi coverage throughout your yard, and cameras that let you keep an eye on everything with motion-activated recording. Tour our Cole Digital Design Center, 15,000 square feet of audio, video, and great design ideas. Cole Digital is family-owned by conservatives that share your values, and we're based right in Frankfurt. Visit Cole Digital today and schedule your consultation. ColeDigital.com. That's KOLE digital.com. Or call 815-469-2000, and we'll bring the showroom to you. 815-469-2000. Cole Digital, what smart living is all about.
My dad passed away unexpectedly. Of course, it was awful in every way, but we are very grateful that he had life insurance. So even after he was gone, he was still able to provide for us. And that's why I have life insurance for my family. Ethos.com. They make it fast and easy to get covered. It's 100% online. You get a quote in seconds, and you can apply in minutes. You get covered the same day.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required. Rates may vary.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft, but that's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If they find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes in your financial accounts, they'll alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that can make all the difference. Save up to 30% off your first year with the promo code BECK. LifeLock.com. 800-LifeLock. 1-800-LifeLock or LifeLock.com. Use the promo code BECK at LifeLock.com.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit information kit. 800-809-7171. That's 800-809-7171.
Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560, The Answer.
Dan Proft here, as we talked about with Andrew Claven, and as I mentioned on the show over the last several weeks, as we've been following the Spencer Pratt campaign and the mayor's race in L.A. quite closely. The interesting thing about this is not just the quality of the spots, it's where they're coming from. There's a lot of creative people in the L.A. area that are putting their skills to work on behalf of the Pratt campaign, disconnected from the Pratt campaign. They're doing it themselves. And one of them has been this Hollywood filmmaker, Charles Curran, and he's got a new Pratt Man video out that's very good, worth checking out. Doesn't really translate great for radio, but it's definitely worth checking out, these little vignettes. And also we have a new rap, and this is radio friendly. New rap offering, KB, about none other than Karen Basura.
Spencer, it is Karen. I need you to pick up. Everything is messed up. Please just pick up.
Karen, it's been so long since you called me. Is it time for your turn, man? I feel like I'm on ecstasy. Said what your vision meant to us will win the death of me. They tried to save your legacy, but baby, I just ended it. Call me KB. Call my say you need me, KB. KB, I'm so clean. You gotta watch me, KB. Pull up Airstream B, whole city is ready, go deep, KB. KB, sweaty streets still got some work, KB. Hey, you tried to bury your lies, somebody come dig them up. If I call up your voters right now, they still picking up. You got lit off our pain, that's high enough. We know how you leaders are watch while I'm doing me. You try to kill our hope, but guess what, I'm stewing me. You try to let it burn while I'm doing me. Hey, Karen, shut the call me KB. Call my say you need me, KB. KB, I'm so clean, you gotta watch me, KB. I'm the fix you never could be, KB. Pull up the Airstream B, KB. Whole city is ready, go deep, KB. KB, sweaty streets still got some work, KB. Blow smoke off all that she broke, KB. Hey. Hey, tired of all y'all telling me Karen, really try. Damn, I know cause I've been watching how you lie. You only hit the podium to pose and pop off a speech while the streets stay broken and your failures got bleached. Housing exploded while you look the other way. Tents on every corner you passed every day. Jobs disappear, businesses boarded up and closed. Schools turn to chaos while the tests got expelled. Having many dreams died on the back of your deals. I guess I will. How many more lies you got on your reel? Damn, how many times y'all gonna call us proudest targets when they trying to cover it up all the time? Broken streets took a drop a line. You was tricking, drop a ass like a hope almost died on your watch, for real. Yeah, like how long you been ruining these streets, for real. Yeah.
The schools, the streets, the homeless, the jobs, I couldn't fix it. The city needs you.
Like a hope's almost died on your watch, for real. Yeah, like I know, Karen, I've been waiting. The city was always mine, these streets. The city was always mine to fix. I just needed to call.
That's Vibe Productions on behalf of the Spencer Pratt campaign. I think disconnected from the campaign, too. Pretty good. Pretty good. I'm looking forward to June 2nd. Coming up at 7:37, we'll be joined by Eli Steele, documentarian and writer. Talk more about Bob Woodson's legacy and how people like Eli Steele will carry it forward. That's 7:37. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Skies are cloudy, 53 degrees in the QC Kinetics newsroom. President Trump expected to swear in Kevin Warsh as Federal Reserve Chairman today. Iran and Oman are discussing plans to implement a tolling system for ship traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. At the NATO meetings in Sweden, Secretary of State Marco Rubio this morning expressed opposition to any future tolling plan.
Iran is trying to create a tolling system. They're trying to convince Oman, by the way, to join them in this tolling system in an international waterway. There is not a country in the world that should accept that. I don't know of a country in the world that's in favor of it except Iran, but there's no country in the world that should accept it.
SpaceX will try again today to launch the Starship V3 rocket after yesterday's attempt was scrubbed in the last minute. The Starship V3 is the tallest rocket ever assembled. A United Airlines flight from New Jersey to Guatemala had to make an emergency landing after a passenger tried to open the plane's door at 36,000 feet. The Boeing 737 late Thursday night made an emergency landing in Washington, D.C., and that person who tried to open the door was met by law enforcement on the runway. The visiting Kane County Cougars had to travel a long way to travel the Winnipeg Golden Eyes earlier this week on the field. They got a win, but they also took a big loss on Thursday just outside of Blue Cross Park. The team's charter bus was parked in a lot across from the park, was set on fire around 2 a.m. Police in Winnipeg have arrested 2 young teenagers. The bus and contents were entirely destroyed. No injuries. The bus is owned by Windstar Lines, a charter company out of Carroll, Iowa. The Cougars, of course, are based in Geneva. The EPA directing nearly $300 million in funding to protect Illinois from exposure to lead in drinking water. This Trump administration investment will go directly to the state, to its Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. Illinois received about 10% of the federal dollars, the largest allocation among all 50 states. Meantime, a Chicago man is being indicted on charges of accusing him of ramming a vehicle into an ICE agent's vehicle last year. Diego Reyes is charged with assaulting, impeding, intimidating, and interfering with a federal police officer. The news this hour is a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and The Sean Thompson Show. Hear both shows, limited commercials, subscribe free, 560theanswer.com/podcast. A check of traffic and weather coming up next on AM 560.
Hugh Hewitt sees some red flags.
The framework includes, point one, the U.S. and Iranian naval blockade will be gradually lifted during the detailed negotiation period. Red light, detailed negotiation period. You don't need a detailed negotiation period. They need to stop firing at ships and let everybody out, and our blockade's got to continue.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Alex Marlowe at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Each morning, the newsmakers and the newsbreakers shaping today's conversation are heard on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line on Chicago's Morning Answer. When you need answers about what's happening in your world, you turn to AM 560 The Answer. And when you need answers about how to prepare for and protect your retirement, you turn to the Alpha Wealth Group, now the proud sponsor of the AM 560 Answer line, right here on Chicago's source for news, opinion, and insight. AM 560 The Answer.
Memorial Day is more than a long weekend. It's a time to honor the men and women who gave everything for this country. And what better way to show your patriotism than with a handcrafted American flag built to last for generations? At uniquewoodenflags.com, every flag is handcrafted from quality wood with a beautiful rustic finish that turns any room, office, garage, or backyard into a tribute to America. Choose from classic American flags, military branch flags, thin blue line designs, Don't Tread on Me flags, our very popular Trump collection, and more. These aren't cheap plastic flags from a big box store. These are handcrafted pieces of American pride. Honor our heroes this Memorial Day and give a gift that actually means something. Visit uniquewoodenflags.com. That's uniquewoodenflags.com.
RedState.com captures the pulse of grassroots conservatism. Red State staff of contributors are on top of breaking news with stories and analysis that challenge the established agenda. RedState.com educates, motivates, and activates passionate conservatives across America, arming them with the facts that put them ahead of the political curve. No wonder RedState.com is a must-read for elected officials and for citizens who want to make their vote count. RedState.com is the place where influence meets action. Log on to RedState.com today.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. Justice Clarence Thomas recently became the second longest-serving justice in U.S. history, and that's something to celebrate. He is exceptional, both as a jurist and as a man. Raised in poverty in a wooden shack in the segregated South, he credits his grandfather for shaping his character. From that foundation, he's articulated a powerful and increasingly influential originalist vision of the Constitution, grounded in the natural law principles of our Declaration of Independence. His character is remarkable. Justice Thomas is beloved by those who know him. He is renowned for his kindness, treating his clerks like family, knowing the names of court staff, and helping others with no expectation of return. Justice Thomas is quite simply a national treasure. He is a blessing to America, and it's right that we celebrate this outstanding jurist and extraordinary man.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and newnordicusa.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
7:38 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. This update is a service of Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. Tri-State, northbound between the Cermak Toll and the Ike, you're jammed up. Roadwork problems, Route 53, northbound between the Jane Addams and Kirchhoff. Accident, Gurnee, 41 southbound just after Stearns School Road. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. Cloudy and breezy today with a high of 68.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Returning to our discussion of the legacy of Bob Woodson, founder of the Center for Neighborhood Enterprise that became the Woodson Center. And, right up till the very end, he passed away at the age of 89. Again, we played clips earlier in the program from our last interview on this show with Bob. And that was at the end of March. And at 89, he was still sharp as a tack in terms of his mind. Eli Steele is a documentarian. His latest film is White Guilt. And he's a perfect person to give another perspective on Bob that I've mentioned, the storytelling, the perspective of the storyteller, and being a good storyteller and picking the right stories to tell. And Eli, of course, was friendly with Bob, and as his father Shelby was too, long-standing friendships. And Bob appeared in one of the more recent documentaries that Eli did in conjunction with his dad Shelby. So let's talk about it. Eli Steele, documentary filmmaker and writer. Again, the latest film, White Guilt. Eli, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me, Dan.
So, just give us your perspective, on behalf of both yourself and your family on the importance of Bob Woodson's life.
It was very, very important. I think, my father has written about the loneliness of the Black conservative. Because, we came out of a very, very tribal society. Segregation tribalized us. So we were Black and we were white. And then on top of that, this then from the political narrative that was coming out of the 60s, the 70s, where most people were saying, this is the right way to go. And so people like my father and Bob Woodson said, no, the other way, the correct way is to go this way. She focused on us. She focused on our development. And that meant that you stood alone. And so I think that my father having somebody like Bob in his life, knowing that somebody out there was fighting the same fight, I think that meant everything to him. I know it meant everything to Tom Sorrell. It meant everything to Clarence Thomas. There's not that many of them.
Yeah.
And the price you pay was very high.
Yeah, in your piece that you wrote at your Substack and also for Fox News, I mean, it's sort of a gallows humor type quip, but you talk about your dad Shelby and Bob appearing many times together on television programs, to talk about public policy and race relations and so forth. And the joke was that if one of them couldn't make it, then the other one would step in because there was just a couple of them that were willing to make the case from their perspective in the face of what became the orthodoxy as to how to deal with improving race relations and lifting people out of poverty, which was the Great Society programs. And so just when you talk about the price that they pay, both your father and Bob, what do you mean?
I think probably one of the most absurd things, because Black power became defined as almost as if we were supposed to just milk as much as we could from the white man, from the government, and it led us to a cultural dependency. And so with somebody like Bob and my father say, no, the correct way is to focus on our development. That took away power from the left. And so the left did not like that one bit because there's so much money, as we see now, there was so much money and power to be had in this Christian culture. And so my father and Bob really paid the price. And what they paid the price for was, what they were doing was simply continuing the true civil rights movement, which was to keep the focus on the real problem in our society. We are a people that came out of oppression. How do we live in freedom? How do we give people the straps to pull up their boots with? How do we develop them? Because if we had followed the path of Bob Woodson, my father, we would be a vastly different country now. You should just see the problems all around us, and a lot of that started with how we approach the Black problem after the 60s. And I think the gift of Bob was that he just never, and he refused to let go of the fact that our true problem was that we were not applying the American principle to the Black population.
And one of the ironies he pointed to, Bob, and as well as your father.
Call is no longer being transcribed.
One of the problems was, or the ironies was that under institutional racism, segregation, Jim Crow, Blacks were applying the American principles to survive and even thrive. And Bob always wanted to tell those stories of when whites were at their worst, Blacks were at their best, as he liked to say. And we went away from we collectively as culture sort of went away from telling those stories and of success. And that's what he wanted to revisit. And that's in part what you're doing as a documentarian.
Oh, absolutely. And because I think the Black politics that they came out of the 1960s had no use for those stories. They had no use for the stories of Blacks that overcame tremendous obstacles. I mean, I know so many of them. In Chicago, there were quite a lot. I mean, if you look at the South Side of Chicago, it was the home of the Negro League. Chicago was the place where Blacks from everywhere would come from once a year to watch baseball. And the greatest baseball players. So you're going on. But instead, the left wants to focus on Angela Davis. Come on. But that tells you everything you need to know. And so Bob knew that the way to break the victimization, the victimhood in minds of young people was to remind them, or not to remind them, but to reveal to them the true people they came from. Madam T.J. Walker, Robert Smalls, all these people, because these people were people that claimed the mantle of freedom for themselves. They claimed the American principles for themselves, and they succeeded, despite slavery, Jim Crow.
The one of the anecdotes you tell in your piece is about meeting Bob out in Ferguson, Missouri, with your dad when you were filming the documentary "What Killed Michael Brown," and tell us why that's a favorite memory of yours.
Well, at that time, this was probably 2018. Black Lives Matter was basically in full power. Nobody was telling the truth in America. I mean, my father was like a fool going on TV talking about what's this systemic racism are you talking about? So that was the condition at that time, and that's not that long ago. And so when Bob came into Ferguson, and we showed him around, and then he sat down. We showed him the spot where Michael Brown died. It was a touchy moment. You know, he took off his fedora. He had a brown suit on, and he shook off his fedora, and he said a little prayer, and then we started the interview. And at that time, it was like going back to the 1980s, at least for me. I mean, that's where I grew up, where he just spoke the truth. He just was unflinched. He had a historical perspective. He was not afraid of saying what was really happening right now. And I know that the key moment was when he sort of paused for a second, and then he said, well, if Michael Brown had valued his life, he will never charge the officer. He really risked his life. And that just really struck me because why do you and I not walk in the middle of the street? Why do we not provoke the police officer? Because we know that our lives can be at risk once we cross a little line in our society. And so he was really pointing to a fundamental problem in our society, which is we have allowed the population to grow that does not value their lives the way most of us do. And what are the problems behind that? And he said this with, well, the BBC watch it's in the documentary, What Killed Michael Brown. And if you watch him say it, he got a little bit of a sad smile to him. But I think what he was saying was, yes, it is a tragedy that this boy did not value his life. And this, all of America blew up over this. But at the same time, if I tell the truth to America and I say these words that you're not allowed to stay in the era of Black Lives Matter, it allows us to look the truth in the eye, and we should see how horrible it is. And we have no choice but to want to move up to a better place. And so I think that by doing that, he inspired, I know from a lot of the emails that I got from the film, he inspired a lot of people. A lot of people said, okay, what can I do now? What can I do to really address this issue of development? Stop giving money away to all these BS organizations. How can I really help? And I think that was the gift of Bob.
Your most recent documentary, White Guilt, I want you to talk a little bit about that. Obviously, that references your father's seminal work, a book by the same title, White Guilt, from 25 years ago or so. Because there's a cultural phenomenon that's being debated right now, and I saw you waded into this debate, about so-called suicidal empathy, the suicidal empathy of the identitarian left. And this is the title of a book by Gad Saad that's out now and it's getting some attention. And you sort of took issue with that. Suicidal empathy is not really the proper diagnosis. White guilt is, or the culture of deference, as your father might say. Explain, that sounds maybe nuanced, but explain why that distinction is important, thinking about the culture, or thinking about cultural pathologies like not valuing your life or like white guilt.
That's a really good question. Suicidal empathy is, I think, should be fair. I mean, it's a cool phrase. It's a nice phrase, but empathy is more grounded in the individual. It's the individual feeling. There is much debate in the field of psychology of whether you should scale empathy to a society-wide problem. With the phenomena of guilt, there is no debate. You have individual guilt, and you have collective guilt. Look at Germany after World War I. That's an example. I mean, we have patterns throughout mankind. And so with this phenomenon, when you have America in the 1960s, white America, as my father says, were confronted with the evil of segregation and slavery. And the civil rights movement basically told white America, speaking very generally, you are guilty. You are not as moral as you think you are. So that's a shock to America, because when you commit a horror like segregation or slavery, you rationalize it. You even bastardize Christianity to serve your cause. And so the civil rights movement, which was a very Christian movement, my grandparents were part of it. Their church was a big part of it in Chicago. And so they're saying, hey, no, indirectly, we are the true Christians. We follow the teachings of Jesus. More truly than you do. We treat every man equally. You don't. So white America, especially the liberals, the left, has a moral crisis. How do we reclaim our part in society? Well, and they also ask a very they fail to do one very fundamental thing. They said, we are guilty. We denied the American principles to Black people for 4 centuries. How do we have the right now to demand that those Black people, these victims, now follow the American principle? Be responsible, be accountable. I'm sorry, but you know what? It's tough that this happened to you. But the only way to truly become a better people is to be solved, and we will try to help you with that. No. What they did instead was say, we, the white people, we, the United States government, will be the ones that issue your uplift. We'll be the ones that do it for you. Here are the housing project. Here are government policies. And so the agency moved away from Black people to, I guess, the right racial order, and so forth. And so when you take away that, I don't think it's any surprise that you end up with somebody who may not value their life, like Michael Brown. His whole life he has been told the problem is the government. The problem is, the white man. The police. Don't you disrespect the police. You smoke, you weed. Your levels of marijuana are just so high in your system. You're not being a productive American citizen. And that's bad faith. And that's what the white guilt has to do, because white guilt always needs Black people to be victims, because that's the only way the whites can get that moral authority back. Well, what a bargain. I mean, that's what I think my father said. That's a devil's bargain. I mean, that is evil. And that is what Bob Woodson, and my father, and all of them are really trying to fight with that evil. I mean, it's just even trying to, hey, take care. Remember, you're true people. We can do anything we want. And that was Bob's way of saying, we're better than that. We have to be better than this. This is, this is a lead. I mean, we see what's happening today.
Right. And as we know, Pope Benedict comes to mind. Evil doesn't come dressed as evil; it comes dressed as a false good, and that's what they both Bob and your father are getting to. What you see, you think is a good, and it's contrition, but it really, when you strip agency away from another human being, you are doing evil. You are doing damage to that human being, and that's what the left has done writ large with these dependency programs.
Absolutely, yeah. My father, and that's a big focus of the new documentary. My father has so many ideas, and we kind of forgot about this one idea until the end. So we literally edited the whole film, and something was missing, and it was the idea of false innocence. Where white guilt, so this moral authority these white people are getting, these social justice warriors, being allies with Black Lives Matter, all of that, that's false innocence. Because you don't get innocence from another human being. You get innocence from your own character. And that, if we are a Judeo-Christian country, and that was the beauty of Christianity and our religion, was that they said, we are fallen people. So you have to achieve innocence through redemption. But the way you do that is through your character, how you live your life. We shifted that in the left to the way you get your innocence is you belong to the white tribe. So if you are a person of color, that's your innocence. Well, I mean, that's just going back to the same evil of white supremacy. It's just the same thing. Anybody, that my father always says, that race as a means to power is evil. Because you have to bastardize all of the morals, everything you need, everything you know, in order to lift up tribalism, skin color, immutable characteristics as your guiding light in life. You have to think very low to do that. That's not innocent. That's false.
Eli Steele, documentary filmmaker and writer. His latest film, White Guilt. White Guilt is the film. Eli Steele, the filmmaker. Eli, thank you as always. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Have a good day. Thank you.
And Eli joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Your kitchen's outdated. Your bathroom feels cramped. Every day you wait, prices go up. And you keep living in a space that doesn't work. At Forever Remodeling, one team handles everything. Design, planning, and installation, start to finish. We show you your new space in 3D before we ever break ground. No surprises. With flexible financing options, the home you want is closer than you think. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com to schedule your personalized in-home design consultation.
AM 560. The Answer.
What would Amazon look like if Jeff Bezos ran the company like New York City runs its government schools? We'll start there with Ian Rowe at 8:08, and then Open Mic Friday at the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour. Grab a line. It's now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Will this keep President Trump from bombing Iran again? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says there's a bit of progress in talks trying to work out a deal.
I don't want to exaggerate it, but there's been a little bit of movement, and that's good. The fundamentals remain the same. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon.
Rubio's in Sweden for a NATO gathering and is also critical of Iran trying to charge tolls in the Strait of Hormuz as it keeps blocking shipping while the U.S. keeps blockading Iran's ports. Ebola keeps getting worse. In an African outbreak, the head of the World Health Organization says the risk is very high for a worsening spread of the virus in Congo, with 750 cases there, nearly 180 deaths. And Fox's Carly Shimkus reports.
And we now have a health update on the American doctor who tested positive and was sent to Germany for treatment. Officials say Dr. Peter Stafford is severely weakened, although not in critical condition. His family has tested negative.
The doctor's wife and 4 children are quarantined in a separate unit. Racing fans are in shock. Kyle Busch is dead at age 41, days after falling ill and going to a hospital. Drivers are shocked, too.
Kyle and I, just to be fully transparent, we were rivals. We were not friends.
But Brad Keselowski tells Fox Kyle Busch
is the first ballot NASCAR Hall of Famer, without a doubt. The whole community is stunned. He's won 234 NASCAR races. That's a record that I don't think will ever be broken.
Busch's last win was in a NASCAR truck race just last Friday. Stephen Colbert is out of a job.
If you're just tuning into The Late Show, you missed a lot.
That's how he opened his last show, and a Beatle helped close it. Paul McCartney was Colbert's final guest on The Late Show. CBS taking it off the air, saying it's a yearly financial decision. But Colbert, a vocal Trump critic, his supporters say it's political. And the president wrote on Truth Social after the last show, no talent, no ratings, calling Colbert a total jerk, adding, thank goodness he's finally gone. America's listening to Fox News.
Clouds and 52 degrees. 8:02 is our time on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Illinois House Republicans say Governor J.B. Pritzker's housing proposals would turn over local control to state politicians. The governor's build plan aims to address housing supply and affordability, but State Rep Jennifer Sanalitro tells us the plan would take away local zoning decisions from communities and move them exclusively to Springfield.
That means decisions about what gets built in our neighborhoods could be made by politicians who don't live in or even know our area.
Pritzker saying in Chicago earlier this week that his proposal, he believes, is just a light change.
The reality is that there is still all of the local control about the height restrictions, about how close the setback could be to the street, all of those other things.
This week, major suburbs like Addison, Elk Grove Village, Hanover Park, and Schaumburg have all formally opposed the governor's build plan. Mayor Johnson used a back-of-the-yards community fair as a backdrop to revise 2026 summer safety plans for the city, including ongoing teen takeovers. CPD Superintendent Larry Snelling says his officers have recovered guns during those gatherings.
There are times when everyone on the scene, including the police, including the children who are there, are in serious danger when we know that there's someone out there with guns.
A teen riot in the Hyde Park area last week alone resulted in the arrest of a 14-year-old who reportedly attacked police. The news this hour is a service of Steiner Homes. Building homes is more than a business, it's a calling. Family-owned and dedicated to building custom homes with care, integrity, and craftsmanship you can trust. SteinerHomesLTD.com. Steiner Homes, love where you live. The very latest now from Fox and the AM 560 Business Beat.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
More people were shopping at BJ's Wholesale Club in recent months, and it signed up more members. A lot of people were filling up at BJ's. Overall sales rose more than 6% from a year ago, but excluding gasoline, sales increased by only 1.5%. Its income from memberships rose nearly 10%. BJ's Wholesale continues to attract online shoppers. Digital sales growth up 28%. Decker's Outdoor Brands, parent of Hoka Shoes and UGG Boots, is reporting record sales and earnings, and mortgage rates rose to the highest level since August. Freddie Mac says the average for a 30-year fixed rate jumped this week to 6.51% from 6.36% last week. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda. Invested in you.
It's almost time for AM 560's annual golf outing, presented by Signature Bank. AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation as they support America's first responder and military heroes to help America never forget 9/11. It's all happening on Monday, June 15th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. Enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Edward Jones Financial Advisor Nolan Webster and by real estate broker Ed Dring at leavingil.com. It's almost time once again for the annual AM 560 Golf Outing, presented by Signature Bank. AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to help them support America's first responder and military heroes to help America never forget 9/11. This year, our golf outing is happening on Monday, June 15th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. When you purchase a foursome to join us, you'll enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. And if you're a business owner, when you purchase a foursome, you'll also receive an AM 560 marketing campaign, which includes 25 one-minute commercials to air on AM 560 Monday through Friday between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. and a free digital marketing analysis. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Edward Jones Financial Advisor Nolan Webster and by real estate broker Ed Dring at leavingil.com.
Each morning, the newsmakers and the newsbreakers shaping today's conversation are heard on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line on Chicago's Morning Answer. When you need answers about what's happening in your world, you turn to AM 560 The Answer. And when you need answers about how to prepare for and protect your retirement, you turn to the Alpha Wealth Group, now the proud sponsor of the AM 560 Answer line, right here on Chicago's source for news, opinion, and insight. AM 560 The Answer.
My dad passed away unexpectedly. Of course, it was awful in every way, but we are very grateful that he had life insurance. So even after he was gone, he was still able to provide for us. And that's why I have life insurance for my family. Ethos.com. They make it fast and easy to get covered. It's 100% online. You get a quote in seconds, and you can apply in minutes. You get covered the same day.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required. Rates may vary.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit information kit. 800-809-7171. That's 800-809-7171.
808. The AIM 560 Business Beat was a service of Signature Bank. Let's turn our eyes to the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, where on the Eisenhower you have an accident inbound between Central and Laramie. 2 left lanes are blocked. Roadwork stop-and-go delays northbound on Route 53 between the Ike and Kirchhoff, and problems in Glen Ellen. Accident in the cleanup stages, Roosevelt and Park. Traffic, a service of Mattress Firm, ready to upgrade to the perfect sleep setup. Let Mattress Firm's sleep experts guide you to the perfect bed at the Memorial Day sale. Unbeatable deals. Mattress Firm, they make sleep easy. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. And now a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mostly cloudy and breezy with a high of 67. Tonight, expect cloudy skies with a passing shower or two and a low of 55. Tomorrow, there will be a passing morning shower. Otherwise, it will be mostly cloudy with a high of 66. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. We've been talking all morning about Bob Woodson's passing and his life's work, his legacy, the individuals, and talking to some of the individuals who will and are carrying it on. We just spoke with Eli Steele, the documentarian. Text from 708. Eli Steele, I subscribe to a Substack. I do not pay for any other Substack but Eli. He is amazing. He is. We talked to Pastor Corey Brooks earlier in the program, a practitioner of Bob's principles to be in the business of transformation, not transaction, at the indigenous neighborhood level, if you want to improve the quality of life, enhance opportunity. Text from 203, U.S. flag should be at half staff for Robert Woodson. He, of all great Americans, deserves the tribute. He, like all great Americans, deserves tribute. I concur. But he wasn't political enough, I think, to generate the sort of attention that others do. I mean, he was very politically sophisticated in his thinking and his understanding, but he was a solutionist, not a partisan, which is also to his benefit and ours. Another angle, of course, is, speaking of opportunity, is with respect to the opportunity that's provided by education. And that's what we're going to discuss in pertinent part with our next guest. Jeff Bezos, not our next guest, but Jeff Bezos in his sit-down with Andrew Ross Sorkin, CNBC, and we've also been splicing into the conversations this morning. I had this to say about the New York City schools. If I ran Amazon, like the government runs the New York City government schools.
Good example. The New York City school system. Right. They spend $44,000 per student. $44,000. That's 30% more per student than other big cities like Chicago, LA, and Boston. And it's 3 times more than Miami and Houston. And by the way, New York City doesn't get better outcomes. So what this? Listen, let me just say, if we ran Amazon the way New York City runs their school system, your packages would take 6 weeks to arrive. We'd have to charge you a $100 delivery fee, and then when the package did finally arrive, it'd have the wrong item in it anyway.
Yeah, in other words, Amazon wouldn't exist. It wouldn't have existed for very long. And so that, in part, is the discussion of the rich paying their fair share to support the schools and so forth.
And Elizabeth Warren has made this point repeatedly. I think she's made it in reference to you and others, are able to pay a lower tax rate, even though you're paying an enormous sum in taxes, a lower tax rate than maybe I am,
these people sometimes say that, I don't pay taxes. That's not true. I pay billions of dollars in taxes. And it's a perfect, again, if people want me to pay more billions, then let's have that debate. But don't pretend, that's going to solve the problem. You could double the taxes I pay, and it's not going to help that teacher in Queens. I promise you. You can't connect those two things, not logically. There are more examples. Why is rent expensive? Why is rent so expensive? I recently saw somebody blamed it on Airbnb. Okay, Airbnb is not the cause of expensive rent. In fact, it's been almost, let me finish here, one sec. It's already been outlawed in New York City, and rents are still very high. So we know Airbnb isn't causing high rents. What's really causing high rent is government intervention.
For more on this, please be joined by the aforementioned educator, Ian Rowe, founder of the Vertez Partnership Academy, senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, visiting fellow at the Woodson Center, and author of the book Agency, the 4-point plan for all children to overcome the victimhood narrative and discover their pathway to power. Agency is the book. Ian Rowe is the author. Ian, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
I'm always happy to speak with you, Dan, but sorry for the occasion that we're speaking.
Well, I mean,
but everything that you just described, by the way, is why Bob Woodson would say, all right, what are we going to do with this information? Are we going to just listen to it and whine about it? Or are we going to put in a plan in action? And in this case, he'd be advocating for school choice so that parents of low-income kids who only want the best for their children to have the ability to escape the situation that you just described in New York City.
Right. And you've been instrumental, not just in being a practitioner, again. Everybody associated Bob Woodson, they may be a theoretician in one respect, but there's always a practical aspect to it. There's the work, there's the doing, which is the being a solutionist, which is why he was such a seminal figure. But the curriculum too, which we have not talked about. The Woodson curriculum, which you have been so instrumental in developing, and speak to that. I mean, that's part of the legacy too, is that the stories that should be told, the education that should happen, is happening in more schools around the country thanks to the development of the Woodson curriculum.
Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity. I mean, what's interesting about my relationship with Bob is that I didn't meet Bob until 83. And I don't mean 1983, I mean age 83. When I met Bob, he had already been working for 6 decades doing amazing things in low-income communities, and this idea of empowering the people closest to a problem to find the solutions, just as you said, the solutionist. And the context in which I met Bob was when the New York Times put out their completely discredited 1619 project that tried to reframe American history and say that America's founding principles were false when they were written, that America was founded as a slaveocracy, not a democracy. I mean, all this, just trash, But again, Bob said, okay, well, what are we going to do? We're going to look at the New York Times, because they had just created a curriculum to try and push the 1619 Project curriculum into schools, and not just any schools. They were being pushed into some of the worst performing schools in the country, Chicago, Newark, schools where the reading proficiency rates were already in the teens. And so now you're going to be teaching a curriculum where the students will now learn, it's because America is a racist country and oppressive, and that's why we're not doing well in school. And so Bob's answer, as always, was, what's the action plan? What are we going to do? What's our counter argument? And I remember I met this, like, oh my God, you're right up my alley. How could I, never met you? And Bob said, well, then let's work together. You have experience in education. Let's put together a curriculum. Let's put together a curriculum that tells the whole story of the African-American experience in the United States. Let's not cherry pick in the negative, which is what the New York Times 1619 Project did. They chose the worst aspects of American history and weave this narrative of oppression. But what Bob also said was but let's not go to the other extreme, right? Let's not cherry pick only the best element of American history, right? Let's not sanitize. And so we created the 1776 Unites group. We then created a curriculum, which has now been downloaded. It's in the hundreds of thousands, I think north of 300,000 downloads by teachers in all 50 states at all grade levels that has lesson plans on incredible incredible Americans who happen to be Black, whose lives and stories capture the essence of the triumphs and tragedies of the African American experience in the United States. You know, some of the curriculum units, one of them is focused on the Rosenwald schools, which
Booker
many
T. and
people
Julius Rosenwald, right?
when Booker T. Washington, again, frustrated at the state of education for Black children through the American South, said, you know what, I'm not just going to sit with this problem, I'm going to do something about it. And he partnered with Julius Rosenwald, who at the time was the CEO of the Sears Roebuck Company, and together with local communities built nearly 5,000 schools across the American South through 14 states and exclusively for Black children. And, you know, the graduates include folks like Maya Angelou, John Lewis. I mean, incredible Americans. But most people don't know about this, but in the 1776 Unites curriculum is an amazing lesson plan around the Rosenwald schools. You know, I'll just give you one more example. You know, oftentimes the Tulsa Massacre is taught in American schools as an example of America's historical and present-day oppression. And so we have put a lesson unit in the 1776 Unites curriculum. But what did we do? We told the whole story. So if you tell the story of the Tulsa Massacre, the first component of the lesson tells the story of during Jim Crow segregation, when racism was enshrined into law, Black Americans were able to access capital, raise money, be entrepreneurial, build businesses, the creation of Black Wall Street. All of that occurred during a time where laws were strictly prohibiting, equal access to lots of things for Black Americans, and yet Black Americans were able to create wealth and create Black Wall Street. So it's really important. That's the first segment on the Tulsa Massacre. If that was able to be achieved then, why can't we achieve that now? Then the second part of the lesson goes into the Tulsa Massacre and doesn't hide any of the horrific elements of what transpired. And then the third element of the unit is the rebuild of Black Wall Street. And I just think that's a great example of what Bob was trying to do. You know, first he encountered a problem where there was this, discredited project from the New York Times 19 project. But we said, let's create the counter to that. But we didn't want to do the same thing that the New York Times did by creating a false impression of American history, but let's complete the whole story. And that's why I feel like Bob was just a special individual. He was faith-based, he was action-oriented, this idea of virtues and action. But in his response to so much criticism, he never, gave up on his principles. He never succumbed to doing the things that his critics were doing. We can do things the right way.
Yeah, right. The truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And that the point, too, is, right, I mean, this is something that conservatives always have to guard, or solutionists always have to guard, which is that I could do what they're doing, but they couldn't do what I'm doing, and we should guard that difference jealously. So, for example,
100%.
I mean, when you talk about the approach to this 1776 Unites curriculum, I just remember, I mean, it's such a tell, right? And you need the contrast, I think, to drive it home to people. But there was a race day seminar at New Trier High School in the North Shore of Chicago, wealthy government school enclave. And the race day summer, and it created a backlash among some residents of the North Shore who were courageous enough to be interested in the whole truth, because this was just going to be the victimology, identity politics version of race relations. And what they did smartly, like in the Woodson tradition, was say, not cancel the seminar day, just allow other perspectives, allow us to include the works of everyone from Booker T. Washington to Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams for perspectives on economics, for example. And rather than allow for an expanded discussion of a wide range of views among similarly situated and credentialed academics and thinkers and men and women of accomplishment, they just canceled the race day because we don't want you to hear the other side.
That is such the tell. That is so the tell. And, that, again, that's one of the reasons Bob was so special. He was willing to talk to anyone. I remember when I first met him the first couple of years, he had a whole sit-down with the head of the Black Lives Matter, this like militant leader in New York, and they had a robust conversation where Bob was really able to counter the arguments in an evidence-based way, in a faith-based way. And I really think at the end of that conversation that BLM leader, even though he might never, disclose it publicly, had a shift in his opinion and was actually inspired by this idea that maybe the people that we're talking about, these so-called, impoverished, powerless people, Black people, might actually have a sense of agency themselves and might actually have the solutions to many of the issues that we face within the community. And that's all Bob was trying to say.
Yeah. And maybe if you present it the way Bob presents it, all of a sudden you have some light bulbs go on. You know what? Right. I don't like being infantilized by people who pretend to be speaking on my behalf. I can speak for myself.
Correct. The thing is, we never want to rob people of the dignity of being able to demonstrate that you can compete at the highest level. That's it. Bob would just always say, you do a disservice to people when you lower expectations, when you reduce standards, when you say, "Oh, you're not capable." That's a more pernicious kind of racism and discrimination, because you're taking away the very essence of what it means to be human, to be a full human being capitalizing on your full potential. That's why Bob was so inspiring, and that's why so many people who interacted with him, I think, even if they did come in with a sort of a more victimology type mindset, gravitated to his position, because he reminded us of what is possible within your own life.
I can't let you go without getting your comments, since you run charter schools in New York. Kathy Hochul opting into the Trump school tax credit program, as it were, a rather surprising and positively surprising development. I have to assume some of the credit goes to schools like yours that have proven up the model and have generated demand for more opportunities. Yes.
Well, sometimes, what is it? Hell freezes over, or whatever the phrases are that, and look, I wrote an op-ed, and multiple people, several of us, made what we think was a very strong case to Governor Hochul that this tax credit, even though it's got the name Trump associated with it, is a good thing for kids. Because at the end of the day, in New York State, just to give you a sense, the numbers are staggering. It's more than $1 billion that could be generated in privately funded scholarships for low-income kids that take no money away from New York State government resources. So it's a federal tax credit that provides an incentive for New Yorkers, to give $1,700 tax credit and transfer that to what's called a scholarship granting organization. And our school, Vertex Partnership Academies, we are very likely now to become a scholarship granting organization for public school kids, so that our kids will be able to access SAT prep, college visits, high impact tutoring. So I'm actually really happy that Governor Hochul moved in this direction. We actually talked about that. So one final story about Bob, because he was also an advocate for this credit, was that 3 weeks ago, we had what's called a fireside chat. Our school, for the 250th anniversary of America's founding, unlike the 1619 Project says, but for the 250th anniversary of America's founding, we've been having a series of incredible conversations with inspiring leaders where I speak to them one-on-one, and then we have dialogue with our students. So 3 weeks ago, we did a fireside chat with Bob. It may have been one of his last public appearances, but he shared so much grace and wisdom with our students. One line was, quote, "Never allow yourself to be defined by the challenges in your life. Take enough strength from those who love you to overcome those who do not," end quote. He also made this phrase, "Values are not taught, they are caught." And one of our students came up to me afterwards and said, "God, Mr. Rowe, that statement from Mr. Woodson really resonated, because I feel like, when you say they're taught, I'm sitting back and I'm kind of, absorbing them. But when you say values are caught, that puts me in the position where I'm grabbing those values. It's much more active. I'm exercising my agency. I'm looking at this kid. I'm like, yes, exactly. That's exactly, like, you are an active participant in your own life. No one's just going to hand you something. There are lots of people that love you and will support you, but at the end of the day, you've got to grab hold of your life. And that's what Bob was saying. And I am really inspired by the work that we did together with Bob, this tax credit, which hopefully, yes, our work contributed to that. But, all of this is an inspiration from Bob. I had the pleasure of meeting him 6 years ago, and God, we did some amazing things together. I mean, my life is forever changed and better for meeting Bob Woodson, and I hope to carry on his legacy, his faith in action, his virtues in action, all for the benefit of all kids to see a better future for themselves.
So good. So good. Ian Rowe, founder of Vertex Partnership Academy, senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, and visiting fellow at the Woodson Center. His book, Agency, the 4-point plan for all children to overcome the victimhood narrative and discover their pathway to power. Agency is the book. Ian Rowe is the author. Ian, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
And Ian joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
It's almost time for AM 560's annual golf outing, presented by Signature Bank. AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation as they support America's first responder and military heroes to help America never forget 9/11. It's all happening on Monday, June 15th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. Enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Edward Jones Financial Advisor Nolan Webster and by real estate broker Ed Dring at leavingil.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call in now! Open mic Friday!
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Yes, that time of the week, Open Mic Friday, where we take your calls, 312-642-5600, the alphawealthgroup.com call and text line, 312-642-5600, to give us a call with your comments, compliments, concerns, criticisms, general crack pottery. We'll take it all as we do. Well, let's get right to it. Glenn in Orlando.
Yeah, hey, Dan. I hope you have a nice Memorial Day weekend. I have two things. One is funny and one is serious. The first one is funny. A liberal can never go to a dentist because a dentist wants to make your teeth white and straight.
Hi-yo.
The second thing is I want to shout out to my grandfather who served the United States Army in World War I, and I have his original honorable discharge paper in a frame. So I'm very proud of that.
Very cool. All right, thanks for the call, Glenn. Appreciate that. Kevin in Austin, Texas.
Hey, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. A couple things. So first, now there's talk that Trump should go and bomb Iran, like a campaign similar to what Nixon did. I think it was called Operation Linebacker 2. That's where it was like a 10-day campaign, and Trump did, or Nixon didn't say anything. If Trump does that, I think he needs to name it after the most famous linebacker of all, Dick Butkus, because Iran can kiss our ass.
Okay. Thanks for the call, Kevin. And by the way, Trump did comment again on to restate his position, at least part of his position, on what the Iranians must accept for an end to hostilities that could be forthcoming. When asked about the enriched uranium, has anything changed with that as a must-have?
Can they keep their highly enriched uranium?
No, we get the highly enriched. We will get it. We don't need it. We don't want it. We'll probably destroy it after we get it, but we're not going to let them have it.
Okay, Memorial Day has been called, as is appropriate. So let's go to our poet laureate, Chicago's Morning Answer poet laureate, Joe from Arlington Heights.
Good morning, sir. This is Please Remember Me by Joe from Arlington Heights. You don't know me, but you should. I'm that one who did all I could. I gave my life staring peril in the face to protect more than just this place. At Fort Sumter, Antietam, Gettysburg, and more, the tender young heart of America was torn. Soon my blood covered the land, but on human rights our nation would stand. My boots on the ground overseas, bullets brutally tore into me, but I had no choice, you see, somehow knowing what had to be. On the seas, with dangers unknown, cold and wet, chilled to the bone, I did not complain as duty I served, while the sound of approaching torpedoes whirred. From fields straight, long and gray, or launched from carriers, I made my way. Soaring high above the ground, soon rockets and flashed my plane they found. I stood in the face of mortal danger, doing this for you, a total stranger. It was needed to protect our way, safeguarding freedom every day. Whether drafty or volunteer alike, I chose to stand and bravely fight, standing side by side with others, my valiant sisters and brothers, giving the last full measure to protect what I treasured. I chose valor as the better way. America, please remember me this day.
Thank you, Joe. Very good, as always. Appreciate it. Verlon in Michigan.
Dan, do we have any conservative historians? Because I don't ever, you know how I listen to AM radio, and nowhere, not on conservative radio or liberal radio, I don't hear about any of the people that you always talk about, like Bob Woodson, Shelby Steele, Walter Williams, Thomas Sowell. I mean, absolutely zero. So if a person isn't, I think I talked to you about it before, this society that we live in is a post-literal society. So if a person doesn't read books and they don't know about these conservative historical characters that we talk about, well, people, not characters, how will people even know about them if we don't have any conservative historians?
Well, we do. I mean, we have them. But, you know, I mean, they're not going to come knocking on people's doors. You have to introduce them. So that's what we try to do on this show. And that's what those who are literate culturally, civically, and otherwise it's incumbent upon them both to transmit to their kids and to their larger community, their circles of influence. I mean, do we have conservative historians? Victor Davis Hanson, Neil Ferguson, Alan Guelzo, Paul Schroeder, past and present, Harry Jaffa, Harvey Mansfield. I mean, I'm going off the top of my head. I could name more, but you get the point. But yeah, I mean, this is a whole, I mean, going back to Ian Rowe, this is like why schools should be in the business of creating lifetime learners. It's not just the syllabus. It's not just your 4 years in high school or your 4 years in college. It's like it's to light the fire, not fill the pail, to borrow from Yeats. I mean that's how it has to happen if it's going to happen.
And well, we need some people that can promote these people, and because you look on the internet, man, all you see is these knockoff hacks. The one that you all just talked about that made the 1619 project, and Jones and all these other people.
Yeah, Nicole Hannah Jones.
They're promoted all day, every day.
I understand.
We need some people. Yeah,
I know. I hear you. Thanks for the call. Well, that's why you have Conservative Talk Radio, at least the intelligent version of Conservative Talk Radio, hopefully. And some conservative media outlets, and these many of the names I mentioned that, write op-eds and books and do appear on outlets to offer contextualize, informed viewpoints. But I mean, again, this is, it's sort of what Ian Rowe just mentioned about Bob Woodson. Values aren't taught, they're caught. It's sort of the same thing when it comes to, intellectual pursuits. You have to take an active role. Just like sort of passively sit by and wait for somebody to, put a shot in your arm that informs you about your country's history. Ralph and Rantoul.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Hey, I don't have anything to rant about today, so I felt a little guilty about calling up, so I just thought I would call and encourage you because, you might need encouragement from time to time. Hey, one thing did cross my mind. I got this CBS news story saying that CBS News Radio was going off the air. I got super excited, and I thought 780 on the AM dial might have something interesting to listen to. But then I found out it was only about the top of the hour New York news bits. So, the excitement went away.
Yeah, well.
The communist bulljive spewers network is still alive and well in this city and others. Yeah. But, hey, be encouraged, Dan. Keep working on your golf, and please don't talk about it because all of us golf haters out there don't care.
Okay, thank you for that backhanded encouragement, Ralph. I appreciate that. Apparently you did have a little bit of a rant in you this morning. But no suicidal empathy for my golf game? I mean, at least you could offer that. Robert in Lisle.
Hey, there's a happy Memorial Day for everybody that served. That I really appreciate. Your fellow gentleman that just called in looking for historians. I'm a historian of historical origin. You won't find too many people like me. But I wanted to say something. I'm also the author, if I might say, of the Book of Kings by Robert Thomas Stephen Census. You can get it online. I'm not trying to sell a book here. But anyway, I wanted to say something about our founding fathers and the conservatism that comes, believe it or not, from Christianity. If you took all the people, like starting with George Washington, they said prayers in Congress and other places in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Whether they were total Christians, they believed in the Holy Bible. And why would you lay your hands on the Holy Bible to take an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States? That's what they all did, and that's where our laws come from. That's how everything's formulated in the United States of America, i.e., guess what it is, the Ten Commandments, and you'll see on the books, if you go back in history, that everything that was ever recorded about our law was in conjunction with with those commandments. And of course, our country over the years mistook the freedom of religion, the freedom against religion. Okay, there you have it.
Thanks, Robert. Appreciate it. I actually met a friend of this guy yesterday at this golf outing I played in at Itasca Country Club, and you can understand how shocked I was to meet somebody that, number one, is a friend, and number two, admits it. The Prime Minister, Ogden Dunes, Indiana.
Perspicacious, Prof.
Yes.
It's a great thing. Yes, my friend is a retired Marine, an ex-Marine, an ex-truck driver, and an existentialist. But, I've been after you to pay me all kinds of money to ghostwrite your autobiography, Carjacked on the Road to Serfdom. But your guest, Theodore Dalrymple, has actually hired me to ghostwrite his autobiography.
I find that hard to believe.
The only man. It's true. The only man working behind bars as a doctor in an overcrowded women's prison. We have the working title, Caged Heat.
Caged Heat.
Caged Heat is women behind bars.
Yeah.
The California charitable program for the needy, Prof, is getting out of control. The mayor of L.A. wants meth addicts to get new teeth paid for by the taxpayers. She complains that those pointy meth fangs can be very unattractive. Plus, these tusks can get so sharp they can be dangerous and inhibit an addict's sex life. So she wants to have the taxpayer pay. Then you got the governor's wife funded a program that will sell baby mamas diapers at 3 times the market rate. So you know what your West Coast libertarians are saying, don't you?
No, tell me.
California has you coming and going.
Hi-oh. All right, PM. John in Bridgeport.
All right, good. Just let me get my little rant out. City Council, you guys are an embarrassment. City of Chicago, you guys are going to pass a stupid ordinance on law enforcement officers regarding what they say or do on social media. How about we do our own investigation of the amount of you that are taking money from street gangs? How about we do our own investigation of you that are taking money from outside the country? You guys are a freaking embarrassment, and that's why people like me and hopefully the majority of the state want the Bears to leave and go to Indiana. It's because of politicians like you scumbags. There. How's that for a rant?
All right. Very good, John. There you go. That was almost Chicago flips red quality, that rant there. Very good. I do want to get to a couple stories. Maybe I'll do this one here. I didn't want the week to pass without taking judicial, especially as much as we've talked about race relations and solutionism today. Didn't want the week to pass without taking judicial notice of the latest boycott the identitarians have attempted to launch, because I think there's going to be a failure to launch. But Hakeem Jeffries and the Congressional Black Caucus, meaning the leftists in Congress, Wesley Hunt, for example, not invited. Byron Donalds not invited, nor would have attended. But regardless, boycotting SEC schools, calling on black athletes to boycott SEC schools because of the Calais decision and the subsequent remaps. Here was Hakeem the Dream.
This is an unprecedented moment featuring an unprecedented attack on black political representation, and therefore it requires an unprecedented response.
That's right.
We are here,
what he said,
standing in solidarity with the NAACP and its call for athletes to boycott institutions within the SEC that belong to states that have unleashed these Jim Crow-like racially oppressive tactics, which is unacceptable, unconscionable, and un-American.
I knew there would be a third
And we
one.
believe that the silence of these institutions is complicity.
That's right.
And we will not stand for it.
And the smattering of applause to follow. Burgess Owens, outgoing member of Congress, not part of the Congressional Black Caucus either, because he's conservative, not running again. Burgess Owens, professional athlete, black gentleman, as you know. We've had him on the program. He was on with Laura Ingraham reacting to what to Hakeem's dream about an SEC boycott by black athletes.
You have black elitists telling young black people to give up on your dreams because if you don't, they might have to give up on theirs. No, this is what the NAACP is all about. It's always been about elitism first. And to be honest with you, I'm not surprised at all to see this. We go back to see what the real seed of this organization was back in 1909. It was based on white socialists. So 20 of them and one black guy, W. Du Bois. They hated Booker T. Washington. It was all about his thoughts of faith, family, free market education. So understand, this is what the Democratic Party, the NAACP is all about. I'm hoping black Americans across the country realize their issue is not about them. The issue is not about those that they're supposed to be serving. It's about the elitists who want to keep their power and do anything they can, destroy anybody's lives they can to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's well said, as per usual from Burgess. And since I mentioned him, and since Jim Crow was invoked yet again by Jeffries, I mean, does he give a talk where he doesn't call something Jim Crow 2.0, 3.0, ghosts of the Confederacy, and so forth? I mean, it's all so put upon, isn't it? Wesley Hunt, he's an outgoing member of Congress in Texas because he ran in that Senate primary. He would have been my preferred choice for the Senate nomination, but that's going to go to Ken Paxton next week, I suspect. Anyway, Wesley Hunt took some time in committee after questioning another friend of the show, Carol Swain, a retired academic from Vanderbilt, Stanford. Excellent. Another Bob Woodson friend, acolyte. Wesley Hunt provided a nice, tidy explanation of the difference between Jim Crow, by the way, something his father experienced growing up in the Jim Crow South in Louisiana. The difference between Jim Crow and voter ID.
Jim Crow was a time when black Americans could not sit in classrooms with white Americans. It was colored-only water fountains. It was beatings in the streets. It was lynchings. It was fear. It was public humiliation. My own father, who grew up in a segregated South in New Orleans, had to walk around to the back of a restaurant just to order a sandwich in the French quarters of New Orleans because of the color of his skin. That was Jim Crow. And that is precisely why it is so offensive to compare that era of legalized discrimination and racial terror to showing a photo ID in a voting booth. And it's just as offensive when groups and organizations like these manufacture faux hate and racial tension. Requiring identification to vote is not oppression. It is not segregation. It is not racism. It is a basic standard that applies equally to every single American citizen, regardless of what you look like. You need an ID to board a plane. You need an ID to cash a check. You need an ID to buy alcohol. You need an ID to enter these very federal buildings. And by the way, attaining an ID in this country is an extremely low bar. But somehow showing an ID to vote in America is now considered to be Jim Crow 2.0. This is not about civil rights. This is about political theater. And the Democrat Party survives on manufacturing grievance. Democrats invoke the pain of the past because they have nothing to offer for the present. They don't want an honest debate. They want emotional manipulation. They want outrage. They want division, as evidenced by our discussion in this very hearing today.
Indeed. And by the way, I like the way that he said theater. It's very David Niven-esque. Well done, Wesley Hunt. Thank you for that. Oh, and by the way, text from 219. I'm with Hakeem. Don't go to the SEC. Come to Indiana so they can repeat as, national football champions. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of conferences that will sign on to Hakeem's call for boycotting the SEC for very self-interested reasons. Sure. We want the best athletes. Bill in Waukegan.
Hey, Dan, thanks for taking my call. I'm currently here in Spain doing the Camino de Santiago on the Norte, but
cool.
But I just wanted to tell you that, I listen to you guys every day, and it helps me through my walk. But that at the same time, I just wanted to say that the Woodson interviews that you had today were just mind-boggling, and they were just so well done. And and just like the other caller said one time earlier, he said that he wishes he would have been informed. I wish I would have known of Mr. Woodson earlier, and because what an American, what a human being. And I tell you, I love your show, Dan. It's like it keeps me walking. I have another 200 miles to go, but I just want to let you know that you're always in my thoughts and in my prayers, and I hope that you have a great weekend, young man. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Bill. Appreciate that. That's great. I want to do that someday. Great movie about the Camino de Santiago, ironically starring Martin Sheen, but he was good. I'm gonna give it to him. Yeah, credit where credit's due. Called The Way, if you've never seen it. Really good film. Eduardo in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. Well, this Sunday they're having the annual National Memorial Concert with Joe Mantegna and Gary Sinise. So just a reminder, it's a great show. They recollect all the services, sacrifices that our servicemen did in all the wars. So it's good to see that show. I always look forward to seeing that show. So just a reminder to check it out.
Very good. Thanks for the call, Eduardo. How about a little levity, just to insinuate a little levity into the show before we leave for the Memorial Day weekend? I don't know. I just happened upon this. It's apropos of nothing, except it's a funny impersonation that I appreciated, so I thought I'd share it. It's Sean Farash quality, but in character. If Donald Trump were Gollum from Lord of the Rings, how would that go? It'd go a little something like this.
This is my impression of Donald Trump, but he plays Gollum in The Lord of the Rings. My precious, my beautiful, perfect, incredible, precious. Nobody has ever had a precious like this. Nobody. And they stole it. Baggins took it. Little Baggins, little guy. Very low energy, terrible habit, nasty feet, quite frankly. I've dealt with habits. I've dealt with a lot of habits. Not great people. Not great people. Okay? Very dishonest. Very, very dishonest people. We wants it. We needs it, quite frankly. Yeah. Nobody has ever needed a precious more than us. The fake news will never tell you that, never. I saw a wizard the other day. They call him Gandalf the Grey, but now he's come back as Gandalf the White. That's not normal. People don't just do that. They don't just go gray and then come back white. It's very stupid. We wants it, and we needs it, and we're going to get it back, folks. We're going to get it because it's my precious, and, they stole it from us. They stole it from us. And how about Saruman, by the way? What a total loser. He's got a great, beautiful, big, tremendous tower, and he blew it. He totally blew it.
Maybe I'm a bit of a token dork, but that's good. Nick, Northwest Side, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yes, thank you, Dan. It's always so nice to start the day with you. I was saying before that, I don't know if it was on your show, maybe another one, but the Israelis especially know that area better. If they could get weapons out, machine guns out, to the people who they know, who the people there know that someone else is on their side against this extremist radical regime, then they got weapons like the French resistance had weapons to fight against the occupying Nazi forces, you see, and nobody knew exactly who it was because they weren't in uniform, but when they had an opportunity to use those weapons, they came in very handy, made a little difference there. So, because the heavy bombings will mess up everything for everybody, and I don't think it'll still drive out this revolutionary guard. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Nick. A heartwarming story before we leave. Trying to include a little bit of that too. Montana Miller of Long Island decided to donate her kidney to a man she once described as her sworn enemy, quote unquote. Mitchell Grosky is the man, and he was her 5th grade teacher. 10-year-old Montana could not stand him, absolutely could not stand him, she said. The two constantly clashed throughout the school year. But 45 years later, Montana's feelings toward her sworn enemy, quote unquote, softened a bit, as can happen once you get out of 5th grade. When she saw on his personal Facebook page that he was in the final stage of kidney disease and awaiting a donation, she moved to action. I wanted to help Mitch so badly it became almost painful, she said. Despite the two being different blood types, she found out that her kidney was a match for him in December, and the transplant finally took place on April 21st. And the recipient, the Teach, she is maybe the most brilliant, most creative student I ever had in any grade level. The transplant success, and Teach is back home with his wife while he continues to recover from surgery. So, there you go. All right, let's close it out. Big Memorial Day weekend. What does Chuck from Delavan have on the agenda?
Saturday, 523, Herner's Hideaway, 1:30 to 4:30 in Genoa City, across the road from the Dog and Suds. The D-Light Duo Band, order the Reuben, say hi to Tammy, and give her a hug. Happy Memorial Day, and God bless all your listeners.
All right, I love a good D-Light tribute band for Memorial Day weekend. Everybody enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. Thanks for joining us this week and this day. Back Tuesday with more wit and wisdom. It's now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
Still no end in sight to the Iran conflict. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
We have to start thinking